Here we go, here we go, here we go. Family, y'all know how it is out here in these certified streets. We keep our eyes and ears on every damn thing. When I say everything, family, I mean everything. But you know how the old adage goes, and it goes that black folks don't make it out clean in this industry. You go down the list, you go down the line, and you're going to see exactly what it is. But on this broadcast, we're going to talk about the Diddy trial, but we also going to talk about Tupac, Whitney Houston, Angie Stone, everything that has something to do with foundational Black Americans. It's on right now. Let's go.
Everybody knows that all the people don't have liberties, all the people don't have freedom, all the people don't have justice, and all the people don't have power, so that means none of us do.
There they go. Who run it? We run it. I need everybody right now. Smash that like button, subscribe to the Black Alpha Network, and share this video because we are about to go in. And while you at it, go ahead and let me know what city, what town, what state, what region that you representing, because we going to represent for our goddamn self, nobody else, and we going to be on our time. What time is at that certified time? It's good to see you back again, family. Today, we got us a special broadcast all the way across the board and back again. Certified salute. And y'all know when we get them throwing them certified salutes around, we only win one way, and that's by a knockout. Let's go, let's go, let's go. And it's on and popping, family. We coming in hot. Black Alpha Network, certified all the damn time. They know what it is, and we about to cook. Right now, I see Toledo, Ohio in the building. You already know. Illinois in the building. Savannah in the house, 912. Savannah get extra love. Yes, indeed. Texas is in the building. Arkansas is in the building. Florida, Georgia in the building. Philly in the building. New Jersey in the building. Much love from Bama. I see you. This is what it is. Because, you know, when you start talking about our lineage, our heritage, and our culture, we got vibes and we got energies from everywhere, right? We got that certified vibe that goes across the 50 states. And we got a lot of artistry that comes across the 50 states. What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about the blues. You want to talk about hip hop. You want to talk about gospel. It all starts with our lineage, heritage, and culture. You want to talk about sports. Y'all know we dominate everywhere. You want to talk about golf. We run it. You want to talk about basketball, football, boxing, anywhere. You put us on the field, the court, or the ring, FBA going to come out on top. And knowing that we dominate everything that we do, knowing that we run everything, I see you, Sacramento, shout out. You know one thing they can't stand, families, that we just win, and we keep on winning. And every time we win, you're going to end up seeing them try to slander Black Americans. So what I need everybody to do today, we're going to talk about the Diddy trial. Hell yeah, we're going to talk about it. But I need all y'all to go ahead and get out them tinfoil hats, okay? What they say, get out them goddamn tinfoil koofies, because we're going to go all the way down the line and we're going to talk about things that they don't want to talk about. We're going to speak about the real. And that's the fact that a brother or a sister who's out here getting it, they're always trying to come up with some type of diversion. And y'all know exactly what I mean. You want to talk about Otis Redding? Mysterious. You want to talk about Don Cornelius? You want to talk about Prince? You want to talk about Angie Stone? You want to talk about before? You want to talk about now? Whatever. Y'all know how it goes. Right now in the chat, I need y'all. Well, I got the family in here right now. Y'all go ahead and tell me an artist, whether that be music, that be movies. Y'all put in the chat right now somebody that you know without a doubt was taken away, unalived, and it ain't the official story that they tell us. I'm going to go ahead and give you one, Prince. I'll give you two, Michael Jackson. You know, it's always a funny style thing. It's always, you don't know, we can't figure it out, what's going on. The same thing they do when they unalive us, and I'm talking about the police. It's the same exact thing they do with all of our celebrities, fam. MJ, Prince, y'all see it. Y'all know it. I mean, look how many brothers and sisters just been disappearing, y'all. Disappearing, gone without a sight. How many times does this go on? You don't see this with nobody else. Mick Jagger is 3,037 years old. And you don't see none of this with Mick Jagger. Nope. Vince McMahon running around here. Ozzy Osbourne can't even talk. Look at that. Y'all going through the list. Sam Cooke. Yep, absolutely. Y'all going down. How come this is always us? How come the people who always win? How come the people who are always on business gotta always see our icons and our legends go away? And y'all know what happens. It's they had an accidental overdose. They slipped and fell on ice. There was a banana peel that no one else slipped on but them. Y'all know where it go. And this is what we've been calling out, fam. You know what I'm saying? And to the point where when we say they railroad people, it doesn't matter. And let me say this for everybody out there. This always comes back on the community. Think about it, y'all. Whatever they say about a celebrity, they end up trying to put that on us every single time. Tell me a time it hasn't happened. We are the only people where they use artists, celebrities as proxies to put a jacket on the community. Yep. Bill Cosby gets accused of something. Next thing you know, an article come out the next day. Why black folks do it? Kyrie Irving tweets something out. Next thing you know, it's a black problem. It don't matter. Dave Chappelle make a joke about a particular community that likes Skittles and Starburst. Next thing you know, they say why black folks don't like Skittles and Starburst. We're the only people where they use celebrities to associate us with everybody. Just had a conversation the other day, and I said they connect us to every single black person, no matter rich or poor. All right. When it comes to black Americans, you can live on the East Coast. They're going to connect you to the gangbanger on the West Coast. You can live on the West Coast. They're going to connect you to the gangbanger on the East Coast. But when you deal with the dominant society, they won't even connect them to their mama in the next room. They won't even connect them to their brother in the trailer park. But this is what they do with celebrities. So this is why we watch everything. This is why we understand the way they've been moving, the way they've been functioning, and the way they've been trying to operate is always to try to stop us. Dorothy Dandridge, y'all look at that. Coolio. Boy, y'all still got the names. I look for a minute and look back, and y'all still got the names rolling in. So what does that tell you? That tells you exactly what we're talking about. So fast forward to time. As we go down, I'm telling you, y'all going to love this broadcast, family. We're going to break this down thoroughly, and we're going to go through the list. You name the names. Every name y'all putting in here right now. Tupac, I see Pac, shout out. Angie Stone, that just happened recently. We're going to talk about all the things they try to do with Bill Cosby's son. We're going to put it all on the line. Share this video right now. Like and subscribe if you ain't already in it, fam. But we're going to have to do our own investigating, because let me tell you something, fam. You always going to get the same story, the same fake banana peel, slip, fell on ice, choked on the goddamn chicken bone. You always going to get the same thing. And it's a way to erase us, to replace us. And then on top of that, it's to get your money, because they feel that we're worth more unalived than alive. There's everybody out there. So we got to go ahead and make sure that black wealth stays in black people's hands. And one of the best way they love taking black wealth, fam, is to take it away from you in a mysterious ways. And next thing you know, your masters end up with Sony. Next thing you know, your masters end up with Billy Bob Thornton. All right. This is what they tried to do. So we're going to go all the way down the line. And by the way, fam, how come all the black celebrities and stars, how come they always end up with some mysterious circumstances? You don't never see nobody else with mysterious circumstances. It just, they always go peacefully at 3 billion years old. Black person be 22 years old, and it was mysterious. The phone rang, no one answered, couldn't figure it out. That's what they be trying to do, y'all. And we're not going to see it. Y'all see right now. You look right now. Look what's going on right now with Smokey Robinson. Y'all see right now, they got Smokey. Okay, they got a whole bunch of Latinas, and they saying that Smokey touched them. You know what I'm saying? And remember, y'all, it's that blackization I'm always talking about. They going to hit you with a blackization. And all that means is a black person did something wrong. Well, what they do wrong, we don't know. We'll figure it out later. And then they run 24-hour news. Fam, I remember they turned Prince into a damn drug addict overnight. Just straight up, Prince is a drug addict. Don't know how, don't know where, just out of nowhere. They said Prince is on drugs. Gave you 24-hour news coverage, and guess what? Everybody now thinks that he was on drugs. You understand what I'm saying? We're going to talk about that. How about Conrad Murray? We want to talk about Conrad Murray? Let's go there, okay? Y'all know Conrad Murray's back in Tetherland, and he's practicing medicine again. Yeah, Conrad Murray. No consequences, no repercussions, no nothing. They just pulled up on Conrad. They say, hey, Conrad, you going to do this? And he said, yep. They say, we'll give you some money. You disappear. Everything will be nice and gone. And then voila. You don't understand? And this is how they always do it, fam. And they try to make it look like it's just something that went on, but it's really not. So that brings us right now to what's going on with the Diddy situation. We could tie that all the way in. However people feel about Diddy, you know what I'm saying? Because like Diddy was tap dancing. Diddy was tap dancing, and we're going to talk about that. But let's also make a point. How the hell, man, got a one-man RICO? I just want to know, like, how you got a one-man RICO? I'm still wanting to figure out how this man has a one-man RICO where the damn DA comes out and straight up says, by the way, it's a tether DA, comes out and straight up says, oh, by the way, this was multiple people. Well, where multiple people at, y'all? How you got a one-man RICO? And they talking about what he did to Cassie, but that's not what he on trial for. You understand? This all goes back to the system of supremacy, and people got to understand you got a one-man Rico and baby oil. That's all I'm hearing about, okay? Baby oil and Ricos, all right? But we're going to get to the bottom of this. Family is coming in hot. This is the trial. This is how it started off, and we're going to proceed. Checkmate.
And we have more breaking news. A jury has finally been selected, and opening statements are getting started in the Sean Diddy Combs sex trafficking trial. Prosecutors are expected to paint Combs as the head of a criminal organization who exploited his fame and fortune to sexually abuse women and men. Defense attorneys plan to counter by saying Combs was not acting illegally and all relationships were consensual.
Bruh, this is wild. So the Diddy federal trial just started and the prosecutors came out swinging. I'm going to break it down for y'all real quick. According to the prosecutors, Diddy wasn't just living a superstar lifestyle. They said he ran a criminal operation behind the scenes.
The P-Diddy trial has started today, and the jury has been selected, 8 men with 4 women. And you cannot imagine what the defense opening statement was. This was the opening statement of his defense attorney, Tenny Garagos. And I quote, Sean Combs is a complicated man, but this is not a complicated case. This case is about love, jealousy, infidelity, and money.
A very large media presence outside federal court as Sean Combs' family just walked in the courthouse. Jury selection continues. Then the jurors will be sworn in, opening statements, and then witnesses will be called.
Sean P-Diddy Combs is not guilty. No, the fuck you not. No, we the fuck you not. That's what they said. Nobody do. You got to turn it over to Christ.
Guys, day 1 of the Diddy trial just started, and it is worse than we even thought. The prosecution started with their opening statements, and they are basically saying that Cassie at some point had some escort.
Patriots, I literally just stepped out of the Diddy trial. This is insane. I saw Diddy. He is in what looks to be a tan cardigan sweater, khaki pants. He's very gray. The front part of his hair is still black.
Right, Diane. We know that 8 men and 4 women have been selected for this jury. We know that 5 of them are from Manhattan, 4 of them from Westchester, and 3 are from the Bronx. One man is a 69-year-old massage therapist and actor. One woman is a 30-year-old deli clerk in the Bronx who says she doesn't watch the news. And the defense did accuse federal prosecutors of bias since most of their strikes from this jury pool were Black prospective jurors. But prosecutors say that they had good reason, neutral reasons for their strikes, and the judge rejected the defense's request. As you said, opening statements are expected to begin any moment now. And Combs has been in court every single day. He's here again today. He appeared to eye some of the jurors as they made their way to the jury box. But he did appear to be happy this morning. He was hugging his defense team, his 8 lawyers there at the table, and his family showed up in force today. His mother, 6 children are there to support him, and we saw him blowing kisses to them as things got underway this morning.
And we have
Here we go, here we go, here we goddamn go, y'all. Now let's unpack what we already know. First and foremost, family, let me say this, and I'm going to go ahead and put this on the table for everybody. I done seen a whole lot of things in my 80s baby life, but I ain't never seen nobody get charged for a RICO for being a freak. I'm just saying. And then I'm also going to say I kind of wonder, was Cassie, complicit in a lot of this, and perhaps maybe she enjoyed it. I'm just saying. Let me go ahead and quote Damon Wayans. Damon Wayans said something about the Bill Cosby situation. He said, what was it about Bill Cosby's soul poll that made you get amnesia for 50 years? I'm just saying, y'all. But since we're going to go all the way there, y'all, and I see everybody in the building, we in here already popping, I need y'all to send a certified salute, because what would a good, thorough breakdown be without me adding my good brother to the stage, family? So I got to go ahead and have all y'all in the building right now send me a certified salute right here in the chat, because we going to chat, and I got to bring in my good brother, Dewan B's in the building. Shout out,
brother. Man? How's it going, brother?
Man, good, family. I appreciate you for coming through, and everybody always be like, yo, you got to get Dewan, Let me tell everybody, I listen to Dewan religiously. I listen to Tariq. That's it. Them is the 2 ones right there, family, especially my brother Dewan, bro. So thank you for coming, family.
Yeah, I got to get you on likewise, man, because I love your passion. I love what you do, brother. This is one of my consistent channels that I watch also,
Thank you, brother.
I appreciate you. You stay on their head. I love it. And no breaks.
Shout out to you, brother. I met Dewan, man, a couple times, man. Dewan solid, good, strong brother, man. West Coast energy, but FBA all day, man. All right, Dewan, brother, Diddy trial, because you've really been the one who's really had, in my opinion, the best coverage in terms of the new black media about this. How do you feel about everything that's going on, family? Everything that we've been seeing, the news, the trial just started. How do you feel about it, brother?
Well, Diddy, I'm a Gemini, so of course I feel two ways about it. One, I never liked Diddy. I've always said that he's one of the reasons why he's one of the people that helped destroy R&B. I'm a music lover, and I think that he was Clive Davis's minion to kill my favorite art form. You know, I always got to point to the white boy he worked for. You know, he was Clive Davis's minion to kill my favorite style of music. You know, and he was very successful at it with the bad vocals and horrible music arrangements and things like that. So I never liked him. A lot of the stuff that's going on right now in the trial, I'm from LA. I've been hearing this stuff about Diddy for 20 years. He's notorious. He ain't shit. All right. I know enough people, you know, that have had to deal with them on the artist end, and also just people being at parties and seeing certain things. He's a trash human being, in my opinion, you know, and that's been my opinion about it. With all that being said, I'm still not going to sit here and help these folks do what they do. Like you said, I've never seen a one-man RICO. And the way they're, it's like what he did to Cassie was horrible. I've been hearing those kind of stories about him doing something like that long before Cassie. When Cassie probably was still in diapers, he's a weirdo. Diddy's a weirdo, period.
Yep.
But being a weirdo shouldn't be enough to get you locked away for 20 years. And my thing is, if somebody goes to prison for something, let's catch them of a crime that they committed. You can't put them in jail just because of the video that we saw, and that's now you try to do all the other stuff along with it. You know, it's plenty of things that you know that's out there. Get him on something he did. Let's not all this whole creating laws and creating loopholes and one-man RICOs like they did with Bill Cosby. And I never was an R. Kelly fan either that much. And I wasn't the biggest Bill Cosby fan. It's funny, like all these dudes and people I was never personally the biggest fan of, you know?
Right.
But right is right, wrong is wrong. Get them on what they did, not just making up some stuff because they're iconic black people. You know, and that's what it seems like they doing. But as far as that trial goes, which the video you just played, they said that most of the black jurors were black leaning. No, they didn't say black leaning.
Yeah.
You could be white leaning, you could be Latino leaning, you could be Kamala Hindu leaning, you can be all the leanings you want. You could be like Lil Wayne on lean, but you can't lean black. That's something that I just noticed that, like, I think Diddy's a scumbag, but let's not break the law to get him. You know what I mean? Let's not do all this other stuff to get him. You know what I mean? And so, like, but that's my overall thing. But going back to what you were saying earlier about how they always get us before we go, that's so true. Like, we're just speaking of the people that we know in our generation. This has been going on since the 17, 16, 1800s. You know what I mean? There have always been black iconic musicians, you know. There were black musicians who were slaves and who were icons in the world. They don't talk about the black slaves like Blind Tom Wiggins, who were some of the most famous people in America, but they were still enslaved, you know. And all the black folks, like, you look at people like Paul Robeson, you know, musician, actor, athlete. You saw how they got him the suspected MK Ultra program, that he basically was this active person. Then one day he drank something at a party and was never the same the rest of his life. You know, you see how they did him. You see how they did. It's artists like it's so many of our artists died young. You know, this is a major thing in jazz. Art Tatum died at 47. Fats Waller, who really laid down the groundwork for rhythm and blues, died at 41 on the train ride. You know, John Coltrane was done with drugs. He had stopped taking drugs for about 2 years, and then he died. They said, oh, it's because of complications. Or is it because he was coming up with the mathematics and spirituality behind the science of sound? Because he had a whole, you know, he came up with this new spiritual movement, this avant-garde style that, if you're part of my Patreon, I do meditations to this. black people, we got, when it comes to meditation, we got people like Coltrane. We got these people that we can just sit back and breathe and allow their music to flow through us. It's going to heal us. But he died. You know what I mean? And you got, it's another man that's very rarely named, a very rarely mentioned artist. His name was James Reese Europe. James Reese Europe, he created the Clef Club, which was one of the first black unions in New York. And so he was unionizing the black musicians in 1910, 1911. Then they sent him off to World War I. He got the black folks doing the music in there. Won World War I, came back, got back on his business, and then he died in 1919. You know what I mean? So this is how you keep a system going. We got to understand that even, you know, on one hand, like going back to Diddy, I see it two ways. On one hand, we got to stand together. But on the other hand, black people, when we like people like James Reese Europe, people like Paul Robeson, they were all doing it the right way. They didn't give the devil, like my grandmother would say, they didn't give the devil a stick to hit them over the head with. But people like Jack Johnson did. You know, you see what he did, the white woman thing. You gave the devil a stick to hit you over the head with. We gotta, in a lot of ways, stop giving the devil a stick to hit us over the head with. Puffy was a fucking scumbag. If it ever came to Jay-Z, I know a lot of things that I don't run a gossip channel, so I don't talk about. But just listen to me when I say this. All the underhanded shit people like Jay-Z has done musically in music the last 25 years, the underhanded shit, and you build enemies being like that. You know what I mean? When you do, like even Bill Cosby, the way he would make people sit on the ground in the, you know, at the show, you build enemies. You be a decent fucking human being. It's something that we gotta, you know, just because you get a couple of dollars in your pocket, a lot of our people, they go crazy. R. Kelly, I did security for him one time when I worked in the clubs. He was an arrogant, you know, I see a similar type also that keeps getting caught up over the last, not Michael Jackson, but post Michael Jackson. I'm you know, being in LA, I'm in enough space around a lot of these people because everybody comes here, and especially back then, 2010. I was 7 nights a week. I was out in that. So on one hand, they do target us, but on the other hand, it's a certain type of fool that keeps getting targeted, and that's the ones like a Diddy who abuses the power. And that's one thing I think about us as a people. We still are the people of the earth. You know, we the original man. Ain't that what we say? But what does that come with? That comes with a certain level of responsibility, don't it? If you're the first man, we quick to say first man, we the greatest this, we the greatest that. But that comes with a certain level of responsibility. And when you take your power and abuse it, see, these white boys, they just now getting power in the last couple 100 years. You know what you expect when you give power to a 10-year-old. That's what they are. But when you give power to an adult, it's a different thing. And as long as us, we want to treat our people the way white people treat us, it's a certain thing that come with that too. So I look at it both ways like that.
I remember you said that a long time ago. You were saying how basically, like you just said now, they give them all the tools to come back down on. Puff was out there. When I seen Puff talking to 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds saying, "Are you coming to my parties?" and all that kind of stuff, I'm sitting there thinking, Puff, you done got. There's a level of comfort right there that you done got way too deep in.
Right. And I'm not saying being the perfect model guy is going to get you through. I'm not saying that either, because for all intents and purposes, I know Smokey Robinson, they targeted him, and he has a good name, you know, in the industry, you know. And even when he did, and he's been open about his drug battles back in the 70s and the 80s, you know. He's been very open about that, so I'm not going to get into that. He's written about that. You guys go into that, but for the most part, he's been, for the most part, a model citizen in the industry. So I'm not here to say we need to be perfect Negroes. I'm not. But I am here to say that when we wild out, you giving the devil the stick to hit you over the head with. That's all I'm saying. And Puff was wild.
Woo! Man, hey, bro, that brings me to a perfect segue about these folks out there. Everybody knows, and man, that's the perfect alley-oop. everybody knows exactly what our brother was just saying, because you would see these people, you know, with Leonardo DiCaprio and all these people on these boats and stuff, and just getting super comfortable, and then I mean, the damn bad boy curse. I mean, that says it all, the type of time that he was on. And I like that, because you're making a point, because they'll take what people like Puff and the energy that he does when he gets close to these people, and then they'll go and enact that on good black folks, and then it becomes this murky situation where it's like, where does it go? Where does it start? Where does it end? One of the things I also noticed about Puff is he was doing all that stuff with Ciroc. When is Ciroc, right? Wasn't that his drink? I think it was Ciroc. I think it was. Okay. I remember he would put his foot in the pro-black stuff and talking about they don't want no black companies out here. And I think one day he was on the Breakfast Club and he started talking about reparations, but I think he botched the word. He didn't even say the word right or whatever. So they'll come and then they'll go back. Because I'll be honest with you, I'm like you. A lot of the stuff that Bill Cosby used to be doing, I didn't really like it. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't really like some of that pick up your pants and it's not them, it's us type stuff that Bill was on. And then when they come for you, it's like, black folks, come help me. And I'll be trying to tell black folks a lot of times, it's like you said, we get caught in a situation where it's like, we see them trying to railroad a black person, which they'll do to us. But at the same time, y'all was out there dancing with the folks. Don't come calling.
And not just dancing, I mean, harming black people. Harming them through, now Puffy's contracts at Bad Boy wasn't any more worse. And I don't focus on the black person oftentimes when it comes to contracts, because the money is 2/3 of the money is taken before it even gets to somebody like Puffy's hands.
Right.
You know, that's just the truth. But the way, you would take a song from Ashanti to give to J-Lo. He basically pumped her career. Like A. Marie just said that it's just one that song, One Thing. He was trying to give that song to J-Lo, and she leaked it over the Christmas holiday so to avoid it getting taken by J-Lo. And it ended up being her hit, but she ended up paying for that too. And Beyonce allegedly had a lot to do with that too. You know what I mean? And so again, a lot of things our people do, I mean, that's taking money out of other black people's pockets. That's where I draw the line. I don't give a damn about celebrity to the point to where if I see this celebrity, the reason why you got 21 Grammys and this much money is because you had a direct hand in taking money out of another black person's pocket. F you too. You the problem. See, like we can't protect everybody. You know what I mean? That's something like, some people is like, I'm not, on one hand, I'm not gonna help them folks get at you, but on the other hand, if you've been stealing from black people and by the dozens, you know what I mean? Why would I run out and protect you? When you have I judge people by how they wield the sword when it's in their hand. We all say one thing when we don't have power, but when you do get the power, how do you act? Do you take from black people? Do you railroad black folks? Do you do things like allegedly blow up Big Sean's car? We heard that was him when it happened 10 years ago. I don't need this trial. I remember this shit when it happened.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's like, what do you do when you have a power? And I think we have to get to a people to where we judge it based on that. You know what I mean? Because you see all these white folks coming at us at 360 degrees. It's like a war. In war strategy, you can't fight every battle. You got to pick and choose your battles, especially when you're outnumbered, especially when you don't control the media apparatus. You got to pick and choose your battles. That's why they can go up. And I'm not saying anything about, because this crap that they're doing with George Floyd is BS. I'm not talking about him from that stance. But you see how they'll pick out of all the black people that was killed, from Trayvon Martin to Eric Green, Eric Garland to Sandra Bland, they use one person, George Floyd, because they found one thing in the back, and what that does is it muddies every case. That one, and so you see how they're using that as a rhetorical. That's a rhetorical strategy, and we got to be more smart about our strategies. Not saying we still should have defended George Floyd. I'm just using him as an example. What I am saying is, when you do get these people who've been obvious shitholes to black society, sometimes you got to be like, hey, for two reasons. One, to control the rhetorical battle. Two, to show other black people you can't fuck over black people your whole life and then get black protection. You're the worst kind of enemy, nigga. Anybody that go around you see it all the time. They want to screw around, screw over this black person, screw over that black person. Take that black person's money. Make sure that black person don't get a Grammy. People like 50 Cent kiss Chelsea and handle his ass.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Ooh, baby, baby. But then go on Andrew Schultz when he's talking about Kendrick. And all Kendrick said was don't let a white comedian talk about black women. We see how these goofy ass niggas. These niggas is goofy as fuck. I don't know if people understand how goofy these artists are. Like in real life, these niggas is goofballs that just happen to have a good talent that got promoted. These niggas is goofy. You probably wouldn't even like them if they was at your job. So we do this, and then that goofball nigga do some goofball shit. Now we got to rally around him. Now we got 5 real brothers over here that really need our help. But we wasted it on a nigga that when he had the money, he was a fucking goofy.
Brother, man, hey, see that's what be getting me. That's what be tearing me up because folks would be riding for the wrong energy. I remember you said that years ago, brother, when we was talking on like a space. He was like, how you giving protection from the community for people who weren't validating the community and weren't doing anything for the community. That kind of sets a bad precedent. It's like, oh, you can sell us out, you can do us wrong, you can tap dance, and then we'll still come help you. Well, that's the case. There ain't no code. There ain't no code to get the money.
I'll even help the quiet one. You don't have, and look, this whole speaking up life ain't for everybody. Just shut the fuck up. If someone don't say nothing about race, but at the same, one of these celebrities, they say nothing about race, they stay neutral, but at the same time, they don't go on Andrew Schultz's podcast to validate his white ass. You know what I mean? At the same time, they just stay, if you out of it, stay out of it. We can protect them too. But we all know, brother, we all know these niggas cannot wait to show their teeth. Ooh. It's a line of niggas with they just shining their chompers up, drinking Listerine, getting all the goddamn whitening toothpaste they can get for the chance they get to show them teeth. And what do it look like if the teeth showing niggas get our love and attention the way the neutral and the pro-blacks do? We don't have no energy for them now at this point. We've done, that's how, like, we look at the Seminole Wars and like a lot of the wars, the Mississippian wars here in America, when especially in what they was doing, the Battle of Negro Fort, when Andrew Jackson would create a proxy war, send a small amount of his regiment over to this area, we respond with this massive attack and kill off them, and then Andrew Jackson's real infantry go into our town, get the women and children, hide in the huts, and then when we coming off from smacking up these people on this little small proxy war, they waiting on us in our own tents and huts and getting us all and wiping us all out. They've been doing the same goddamn strategy for how long? Niggas got to be more aware, like, you know what I mean? Like, don't over-respond to somebody who don't deserve it. That's how you maintain the energy for those who do. We need to be helping Smokey out right now. That man gave us all that love music and ain't never, did you ever see his poem about being Black American? Don't call me African?
Yep.
10 toes down.
Yep.
And I saw some goofy ass niggas was like, well, he did let Jennifer Lopez do the play. Look, sometimes you got to play the game.
Yep.
That's just what it is in the mainstream. Sometimes, but he didn't say nothing to hurt us. Nigga, you stuck on one bad thing he did when all he did was make music of love, harmony, peace, and love, and then held it down for Black Americans. Only thing he did wrong was that song "Gangbanging." That shit pissed me off. The only mistake Smokey Yard, he needs our energy right now.
It's funny how that's going like underneath the bridge. Like a lot of people didn't even really catch up on that. I was like, nah. But you know, hey, brother, you just gave me an alley-oop. You out in LA, so I know the stories that other people hear, and I know you hear so many stories out there. Fam, I'm gonna play this right here, and I've been personally waiting to hear your views on this. And this is one of the main ones with the main person that we all know that there's a whole hell of a lot of things that are skeptical about what went on with Michael Jackson. And I want to play everybody, those who haven't seen this, some of the things that they were saying was getting our good brother Mike in a lot of the hot water out there. Then I want to have my brother Dewan break down all the aspects about the Tommy Mottolas and some of these people that are behind the scenes and the way these behind the scenes hands play, especially when you become bigger than the program. I'll let this roll.
Please don't videotape what I'm going to say, okay? Turn that off, please. No, what? I don't mind. Mariah Carey after divorcing Tony, came to me crying. She was crying so bad I had to hold her. And she said to me that this is an evil man. And Michael, this man follows me, she said. He taps her phones. And he's very, very evil, and she doesn't trust him. And he is a horrible human being. And we have to continue our drive until he's terminated. We can't allow him to do this to great artistry. We just can't. I just want you to know I appreciate everything you've done. You've been amazing. You're so loyal.
This is very important because throughout the years, Black artists have been taken advantage of completely. And it's time now that we have to put a stop to this incredible injustice. And like Mrs. Sharpton was saying, people from James Brown to Sammy Davis Jr., some of the real pioneers that inspired me to be the entertainer that I am. These artists are always on tour because if they stopped touring, they would totally go broken. And it's been, the record companies really do conspire against their artists. They steal, they cheat, they do whatever they can, especially the Black artists.
Now let me say this.
Tommy Mottola. Tommy Mottola is the president of the record division. He is a mean, he's a racist, and he's very devilish.
Acting in this way, and whoever else, artists that are on their label that are being stuck. Tony's stuck. I want to hear the guys in the back.
The minute I started breaking the all-time record sales, I broke Elvis's records. I broke Beatles records. The minute it became the all-time best-selling album in the history of the Guinness Book of World Records. Overnight, they called me a freak. They called me a homosexual. They called me a child molester. They said I had reached my standard. They did everything to turn the public against me. This is a whole complete conspiracy. I don't have race. I just look in a mirror. I don't black. They manipulate our history books. The history books are not true. It's a lie. The history books are lying. You need to know that.
Freeze. I had to let Mike cook because, you know, one thing you don't do is interrupt the great Michael Jackson when he's talking. So I had to let Mike go ahead and do that. By the way, fair use, YouTube. This is about teaching, scholarship, research, and commentary. Fair use. Now, right back to it, right back at it. Get my brother back on here, fam. This jumping all up. That's what I want to show everybody, because when you really watch and you really examine Michael Jackson, one of the things that they did not like about Mike was Mike used to name some names. And just like our brother Dewan was talking about, really people who are really saying things opposed to folks who really ain't saying nothing at all. Brother, I got to know your view. I've heard you break this down before, fam, but for everybody in the audience right now, fam, Tommy Mottola, Clive Davis, these people that a lot of individuals don't know. They always see the artists. How do you feel about what Mike was really talking about and how the whole Mike situation played out?
He was talking about, you know, that's what they are. These well, we got to understand this. Hold on, I'm gonna show you this book. What we got to understand is music is a devil's industry. It's hood, it's street. And these cats over here, I got so many books over here. These cats over here that are in the music industry. Music was started by bootleggers. The industry is by bootleggers, by the drug dealers of the day, by the underworld. It's always been a place for the underworld to wash its money. You know what I mean? So these are the people at the top before the money even gets to the Negroes. Like they talk about Sylvia Robinson and Sugar Hill Records. Well, from what I heard, Sugar Hill Records was run by some mafia folks they were taking half the money off top. Before she got the money, she wasn't getting half of what she should have got for herself. And of course, down the line, it just gets worse. And if you're a mobster, what you gonna do? You're gonna hire mobsters generally, you know. And the artists are always victims of this. You know, Louis Armstrong had one of the best splits in the 30s, 50-50. He was working the shows, and his people was taking 50%. And that was one of the better deals at the time. You know what I mean? So the industry is full of gangsters and mobsters. And this is a good book right here if you can find it. It's out of print. But it's still good to have. It's called Hitman by Frederick Denny. And it talks about the bad guys and also the good guys. You know, there's some guys who weren't that bad, like Walter Yetnikoff, you know, and it's certain people who are more about the music than the BS. But you find even the white boys who are more about the music than the BS, they got off too. Casablanca Records, you know, they threw a wrench in the game when they was releasing Donna Summer and Parliament Funkadelic. You know what I mean? They were trying to lower the vibration of music at that time. So, you know, those brothers, those white boys ended up getting, you know, early expiration dates. You know, happens to them too when they don't follow the game. And so, you know, Michael Jackson's talking about Tommy Mottola. You know, we've heard similar things about Leroy Cohen. You know, we've heard similar things about Jive Clive Ass Davis, you know, and we've heard similar things about a lot of these guys, you know, and Jimmy Iovine on down, you know. And these are people who know they don't have talent and they know they can't go out there and produce anything. So they go out there and get the Goyim to produce the stuff, you know, what they call them, you know. They get them and they come and suck off of them. And they guarantee their job is in their mind is they're trying to guarantee their children's future. They know without your black ass, their children don't have a future because they don't have no talent. So that's what their mindset is first and foremost. Not everybody, but the people. I'm just speaking on the people that we speak of. You know what I mean? And you guys take from it what you may. But you got to have this in your back of your mind. We dealing with this. And so, yeah, and then look what they did to Michael Jackson. All I said, the Q, to find out if, you know, who's really down with the industry and who's not, how does the industry talk about them? They crapped on Michael Jackson. They crapped on Prince. They kept throwing James Brown in jail. You know what I mean? For things, they threw Chuck Berry in jail for tax stuff that Willie Nelson's got a fine for doing. Same stuff. Chuck Berry goes to jail. Willie Nelson gets a fine. And Ron Isley goes to jail. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Look what they did to Ron Isley. He held the Beatles' first hit was covering the fucking Isley Brothers. That show you how dope they are. When last time you hear the Isley Brothers get talked about on that kind of level? When it took the Beatles, when it took their hit for the Beatles to cover it. He been dropping hits, just dropped a hit, 2 years ago with Beyonce? From 1959 to 2022, man, dropping hits. Don't get talked about. But then, you know, these are the ones that the industry, you got to see, these are the people that the industry favors. They just got through on their talent. Michael Jackson, look what they're doing to Michael Jackson. What they did to his legacy. You know what I mean? When they push, when you see Puffy smiling in the commercials, that lets you know that's their boy. When you see Jay-Z out there now, how next to the president, that's their boy. When these are the boys right now. The stars that we have on the top now, they learned from Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson was a child watching Berry Gordy, watching all these other people, you know, and seeing what they was doing, and went to Japan and bought Sony for himself, and he bucked the system and he did it the right way. He knew how to play coy. You know what I mean? Until it was time. Same thing with Prince. When he changed that, put that symbol on his face, he's something different. You know what I mean? But if you have an artist that's been in the industry now 10, 30, 20, 30 years, and they're still the jewel, the light, that's their people. And these are people that's never going to talk about it. And then going back to Puffy, when they do, Puffy called out the Ciroc folks. You know what I mean?
Yep. Puffy called out. He had a video. If you go back here, he had a video September 2023, a month before he was arrested. That it was an image, and the dude kind of had them sideburns like the small hat people, you know, where the image could be depicted as a small hat. And he talked about the minute Puffy broke and started having a mind of his own. Look what happened. You know what I mean? They came down on that nigga swift. He didn't get to think his own thought for 2 weeks. You know, and so, but we got to understand that. And when you're not one of their puppets, they're going to turn on you. They would turn on Michael Jackson because of that damn video you showed, and stuff that moves he was making prior to that. Hell, listen to Michael Jackson's history CD. People got to go back and listen to History Disc 2. He talks about all this. He has a song called Money.
to where he's talking about he's whispering, he's actually beatboxing the beat underneath.
Damn.
But within the beatbox underneath, if you got some good quality headphones, he's saying, "Watch out for Donald Trump," and he was friends with Donald Trump at this time. Watch out for the Vanderbilts. Watch out for the Rockefellers. In the song "Money," he said, "People, anything, people will do anything. They'll die for it. They'll smile for it." He's telling you how these people are. The song "History," he's telling you to write your own history down, black folks. You know what I mean? The song "They Don't Really Care About Us." The song "Earth Song." You know, he's telling us what's going on about the elite versus us. In the song, I mean, all throughout that song, DS, he's literally clowning the district attorney that couldn't put him in jail. But if you listen to the album, he's all these things that he talked about in that video, he put it in the music and history. And if you go, like I know sometimes I'll go on my Spotify or Apple, and if you just type in Michael Jackson and hit albums, oftentimes history won't come up. You'll put everything else. If you type in Michael Jackson, the artist, and then click on app, see discography. Oh, this came up on Spotify this time. Oh, that's because I have it downloaded. But every time, sometimes you just put in his name, and just put on albums, sometimes they won't show history because they don't want you to know that. Oh, here, look. I'm in my Apple iTunes right now. I just typed in Michael Jackson, artist, and I'm in the hit on albums. They play everything, but they don't have history.
Damn.
He was telling you what it is. He was telling you what it was and remember the time. People always ask, what that part towards the end of the song, he says, "You and me in Spain." He was telling your black ass to look at the Moors. He was like, it's not just ancient Egypt. This is 500 years ago here in Europe. That's why he did that. He was always putting these nuggets in the music. And so he went from the darling, but again, Dangerous is around the time that they flipped. First time black Egyptians were seen as black on TV in American history.
Yep.
That's when he went there, they flipped on him. So, you know, we got to understand that these are very evil people, and the only people that they go with long term and that they're cool with are the ones that ain't gonna rock the boat. The only person they'll give somewhat of a pass to is Stevie Wonder, and that's only because he's blind.
Brother, how Mike went away, how it all happened. Now, I got some things. I want to hear your perspective on it, family, because I remember Conrad Murray was on the news every day. Conrad Murray. And then Michael Jackson ended up passing away, and then boom, I don't hear about Conrad Murray no more. And then a lot of people don't know Conrad. I heard he's back down in Tobago, wherever the hell he's from. I heard he's back down there practicing medicine. I feel that particular individuals probably went to him and been like, "Hey, you handle this situation. We'll have you take care of. You'll go and take some money, and then you'll never have to come back again." And they go to a lot of people that are close to you, like Sam Cooke, even for instance. They'll find people who are near you and basically give them an ultimatum. Either it's going to be them or you do it, and boom. Because I remember Conrad Murray every day. Remember the tribe, brother? That's your area. Yeah. And then boom, you don't see Conrad no more. That guy is the most spoke about, non-spoke about person I've ever seen. And it's like they don't want you looking in Conrad's direction because it's going to make people wonder about the Mike situation.
Like, first off, I don't trust any nigga that got Con at the front of his name. His name is Conrad. That sounds like it's somebody who commands a pirate buccaneer ship. Conrad. Come to the ship, Conrad. As his name alone let me know, made me not trust him. But, you know, I think that he was the fall guy. I looked at when Dick Gregory was alive. You remember Dick Gregory would say some things. And I remember talking about the Michael Jackson. And Dick Gregory's the reason why I read the autopsy report. I don't read too many autopsies because I don't like dealing too much with death like that.
Right.
But if you go on the report, why does Michael Jackson have cracked ribs?
Oh wow, I didn't know that. What?
Yeah, it's on go look. Go if I don't have it up because I wasn't prepared for that. But
yeah,
if you go on the autopsy, it's like one of the pages later on. He has cracked ribs and he has damage to the chest, and then Dick Gregory talks about the blood that was seen around there. So my personal feeling is, with a man having goddamn cracked ribs in his autopsy, you know, and it's more that went on than him taking some Demerol or whatever.
Right.
That might be because, you know, I just want to know what the hell crack ribs got to do with a shot. And then they said CPR. No, they're not CPR, and that goddamn hard. The level of trauma, because it was like a blunt force trauma kind of thing, and it wasn't no goddamn CPR. And if it was CPR, if they believed it was CPR, they would have said, oh, they would have even just given slight mention to it because hey, nothing to hide. Why is it people don't know it all? Ask these questions. Get in the autopsy. So
you giving facts, brother. You dropping straight jewels, brother. I didn't even know that.
I know people say CPR. I know CPR can crack your ribs. I'm telling you to go before you come to me trying to explain it away. I'm just saying go read the autopsy report. It's all kind of weird shit in there. So that are more tied to some kind of physical altercation, more than just the cracked ribs. Okay.
See, man. Now it's funny because a lot of people. I was doing some stuff on Conrad, and then I'm just gonna let these things flow through. And exactly, brother. And then, dude, just right there. Everybody remember Conrad. For those who don't remember Conrad, okay, Conrad came and went. Matter of fact, before I get on Conrad, Duan, what was the name of that damn documentary? And that is it Bashir? Whatever.
That Martin Bashir, that punk ass.
Yeah. For those who don't know, that was a hit piece documentary, and it just slandered Mike's name.
Did you ever see the second one that Fox released with Maury Povich?
And did they clean it up? Was it that one?
They played the full clips, and that shit aired one time, and it never came on again.
Wow.
They paid more, so that what it was, like, for instance, on the episode of Martin Bashir, you hear Michael Jackson saying, "Yeah, I share my bed with children. What else? What's more special than sharing bed with a kid?" Cut.
Right.
On the full video, when they extended it out on the Maury Povich version, he said, "Yeah, I share my bed with a kid. What's more precious than that?" He said, "If I have a dying kid and they want to sleep in my bed," he said, "I sleep in the other room." He said, "I've slept in the other room or on the floor." He said, "I have a huge room. I'll sleep on my couch. I'll sleep on my floor. But if a kid is dying and his wish is to sleep in my bed, he can sleep in my bed." That's what he said in totality. But Bashir's cut it off at the kid sleeping in my bed and left you to think that Michael Jackson sleeping in the bed with him.
Damn.
Those are things that Martin Bashir did to plant these things in your mind that this dude is more crazy than they're trying to make it to seem. You know what I mean? But if you can find that, it's kind of hard to find out. It may be on different hard drives, but if you can find the Maury Povich version to where they re-edited the same video because they got the files from Bashir, but the damage was already done.
Yep.
Most people didn't watch the Maury Povich one, and once that was put in their mind, they didn't care anymore.
I remember that slander was so. I remember my brother was so mad watching that because I remember he was talking about I got to confront Michael and then the editing and the hit piece. And Michael Jackson's got a new documentary every single year. There's the new Michael Jackson documentary. They don't stop it. And people like Oprah and them folks that were trying to be cool with Mike, and then now they get behind these hit piece documentaries. And it goes to show, really, to your point, brother, that alive or passed away, they're still out there slandering this man's name so you can get that man's legacy.
And they still trying to slander his name in death. And Leaving Neverland, they came out, and that stuff had to get taken down. There was a court order that made it get taken down because the court said it was lies up in that thing. And then they turned around and said, we're going to do a Leaving Neverland 2. And then when the family did their documentary on Mike, no Oprah, nobody promoted that. So because Mike put a message of freedom in his music. If you listen to Michael close enough, going back to even Off the Wall, you know what I mean? Live your life off the wall. You know, you can't, certain times you got to disconnect. You know what I mean? Another part of me, is telling you the world, the universe is waiting on you to get online, to get some fucking courage, and because they can't hurt you. You know what I mean? He's putting all these messages in the music. So they got to throw shade on that message. They keep throwing the shade on the messenger. most of these idiots out here won't listen to the message. They gotta do it.
You know, and behind the scenes, what I always tell people to connect two dots that a lot of folks always forget is right at, because everyone knows about what Mike did in terms of getting his masters and owning all of that stuff. But one of the things I want to show people, I'm gonna pull this up right here. I think I got it loaded. Yeah, I'm gonna show this to everybody. One of the things that ended up happening, same what goes with Prince, is that these people, after you're gone, they end up coming back trying to get your damn masters in return, which they couldn't have while you were here. This is what ended up going on. I pulled this up just the other day with Michael Jackson. This right here ended up happening right there. Sony Music buys stake in Michael Jackson's catalog, value and rights of over $1.2 billion. A lot of that went under the table and under the radar. And when people start seeing that these folks got these extras on why they came after Michael Jackson and even Prince, I got it right here, loaded up as well. Same deal with Prince. Same thing. It's official. Prince's state strikes deal with Sony Music for 35 catalog albums. Notorious that I remember you couldn't find Prince's music nowhere. Now I see commercials with Prince's music playing in the background.
Yeah, he didn't play his music on commercials. He wrote it over in his grave having himself play on commercials. And then look at, or they'll do that, or they'll completely undervalue your catalog like they did James Brown. I think he said something for like $90 million when you can't watch an NBA game without his commercial songs being played going to commercial. You know what I mean? And so they do that. You know what I mean? They do that to our catalogs, or they do like they do with George Clinton. George Clinton's been in the courts now for 35, 40 years trying to get his rights. There was like literal whiteout on his contract. And under the whiteout on top, it said through perpetuity. Like he's still paying back having the mothership land in 78 in Houston. You know what I'm saying? Having the mothership sign future rights away. There's all kind of shady shit. The courts have even said it's shady stuff with the contract, but they never reversed it and given him the money. So now he has Ben Crump fighting it, you know, for him. And I heard he got some money back, but you know, the fact that, you know, Ben Crump is right. I just hope Ben Crump, I'm not gonna put out there what I think about Ben Crump because I want my man George Clinton to win his money for his rights. But George Clinton is still having a tour right now at 83, 84. He's still dope though. I went to go see him last year. He's still jumping on stage. You know, flashlights still sound good and everything, but you know what I mean? He's touring for his grandkids when he's made enough music on the funk side and on the rock and roll side. You know, he's getting sampled by the Chili Peppers, Aerosmith, and by hip hop. You know what I mean? He still got to work. But we got to understand that the music industry, and he talks about it in his book right here, Rhythm and Business. The music industry, the whole thing with the music industry is all about siphoning music money from us. We fund the whole thing. We fund mediocre Miley Cyrus. We fund weak ass The Weeknd. You know what I mean? We fund Post Malone. We fund all that shit. We make, because our music, they give us the smallest budgets, but we do the most of those budgets. They screw us over. They take our money, and the money that we make goes to fund their mediocrity. And that's what the music industry is set up on. So if you have a black person that finds a way to cut through that and get the money for themselves, white supremacy is very cautious. The same way Trump is getting those South African refugees. One white person gets one leak in the crack, gets caught, they're gonna seal that shit real fast because they understand a leak turns into a flood. So we got to see it like that. You know what I mean? This is them keeping this industry that they have that goes back to during the times of slavery. Look up Blind Tom Wiggins. They were doing this. We don't even know they was doing this to us. There was a whole class of musicians that were slaves by the hundreds. And the same thing, a white person would just own them and he'd go play the fiddle, sing, piano, whatever he do 7-8 shows a day, master keep all the money. So this is a system that they perfected during slavery that they redid, that they constantly refined. The first slave contracts were in the 1860s, during Reconstruction. They were finding ways, people like Blind Tom Wiggins, to recapture them into slavery. They sharecrop, basically they sharecrop musicians. Then when sharecropping got old, we started moving to Chicago, We made a little bit of money. We got union. We started unionizing in 1910. Black Swan Records in 1919. They found a way to cut that off. We break about them motherfucking chains in when the 40s come, post you know what I mean, they put us back in it. In 60s come, VJ Records, Motown, Black Man running Stax Records. We break out that shit in the 60s and the 70s. 80s, they put it right back on us. We constantly breaking them chains and then putting it back on us. And on my Patreon, I interviewed Dr. Logan Westbrooks on this past Sunday. He's the first Black person to work for Capitol Records and CBS. He was the Black man that created the model on marketing Black music and wrote the book on the Harvard report, the report that we always talk about. I just interviewed him this past Sunday to get more into detail, because you know what I mean, I'm investigating this shit like a motherfucker. I'm on their ass. We got to understand that this is a whole system that's made to funnel our money to them. So Michael Jackson broke the code. Prince broke the code. Sam Cooke cracked the code. And when you get these code crackers, you know, they take that as a real threat. We got to understand that.
Brother, when you talk about Sam Cooke, that's one of the people I want to get. A lot of people don't know about Sam Cooke. I mean, they're familiar with the songs, but it was so long ago. In terms of Sam Cooke, I heard of his deal, and a lot of the matter of fact, I heard you mention a couple of people earlier how they was coming up with deals back then that you don't really even see nowadays. Who are some of the people that you know that had some of them deals that were just beyond their time frame and how they were targeted based on that? Because I remember hearing that about Sam Cooke and the power that he had. And I think they just made a documentary, if I'm not mistaken, about Sam Cooke or whatnot.
Yeah, he was killed out here in LA by a woman that was associated with the alphabet agencies, you know? You know what I mean? And all this stuff after he started getting his money. Otis Redding was getting his money, you know, died in the plane crash. You know what I mean? It's a lot of, look at James Brown. They didn't kill James Brown. They just put him in jail and killed his credibility for a long time, you know? And then made his life hard. You know, look, James Brown owned King Records. He owned radio stations. He owned the printing press. And we had all that stuff going on. They hit him with them charges. You know what I mean? Tax. You know what I mean? The same stuff that they created for the mafia that was doing illegal stuff, they use those same laws on Black people doing legal stuff. You know what I mean? They got James Brown, and then, you know, it's just, that's what they do. You know what I mean? It's, you got James Brown, you got George Clinton. Go back to George Clinton in the late 70s. See what George did with his bands. He was like Parliament on Casablanca. Funkadelic might be over here on Mercury. Bootsy might be over here on CBS. You know what I mean? The Brides of Funkenstein, he had all of his different bands, Bernie Worrell, Fred Wesley. He had them all in different labels and doing things. And, you know, late 70s, he was going to consolidate all of his bands that he had on different labels onto one label. And do you know who his opening act, his new act for that new label was going to be?
Who was that?
Roger Troutman and Zappin' Roger.
Damn.
That's, you know, more bounce to the ounce is George Clinton on the production. And that was going, he was going to be the new artist that was going to be on George Clinton's label that was going to bring Bootsy, Don Blackman, all these guys that was putting out Joni Morrison. These are legends that these Black people don't know their names, but these are some of the musicians that are behind the sounds that everybody know in hip hop. So I'm naming some names that these are the men, these are the guys that your favorite hip hop songs took from. So he was going to put them all under one label, and then boom, shit came down on their ass. You know what I mean? We have Maurice White, Earth and Fire. He created the ARC record label. He was starting to bring in acts on Denise Williams, and he was bringing these other acts under ARC. A lot of stuff in the late 70s, that shit just they pulled the carpet, they pulled the funding, they messed up the distribution. It was like, on one hand, they kill you. We see that, or we suspect that they kill you. But on the other hand, they just, okay, we about to tighten up the distribution. You know what I mean? We're about to, so now you can create all the music you want, but you can't distribute it. So it's going to force you to have to sell to us. Going to force Gambling Huff to have to pass their, move their Philadelphia International. They're just on the CBS label, but they had their distribution, I think, with RCA. You got to now move it to all these big houses. Now you got all these black labels that in the late 70s, mid 70s, they had to start. Motown had to move its distribution to RCA, I think. You know what I mean? And I think it was RCA, it's one of those companies. So they killed us economically. So either they kill you physically or they kill you economically and make you come along with them, offer you a lot of money, and then kill your career off, kill the sound. You know what I mean? They offered Barry White all that money, but say, hey, take away all these strings. But the strings and the lushness is what opens our hearts. We need strings. We need live drums. We need live bass. We need the shit. This plastic music fucks our head up. You know what I mean? The same way the plastic food do. You know what I mean? The McDonald's and shit. I know I'm a McDonald's aficionado. You dig? Took a long time to get off that shit. You know what I mean? But you know it do with you. You know what it do for you. Same thing with this plastic music. Tick, 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 boom beats. You need strings. Strings are going to open your heart up. You need horns. Horns are going to light a fire inside of you. You need live drums for your heartbeat. You need real singing, a woman's voice, not no fucking auto-tune. But that's what happens when they consolidated our stuff and made us, they put us all under their labels, under their sounds. They got rid of our orchestration. They got rid of the beauty in our music, the beautiful lyrics, and they decided to bring in these Cardi B's. They decided to bring in these non-singing Rihannas. These are all their decisions. But those are the two ways they kill our music and kill off our things. They either directly Marvin Gaye their asses, you know what I mean? Because remember, Marvin Gaye was killed by his dad. The paramedics were there. They just didn't go inside because they said, as long as his dad's in the house with a gun, we can't come up. So Marvin could have been saved, but they waited outside. You know what I mean? For 45 minutes, I heard on his documentary. And
Dang.
so, and if you're ever in LA, you can see Marvin Gaye's house right off the 10 freeway at the Gramercy exit. If you look to the north side, you can see the house he was killed in off the 10 freeway. Dang. If you're ever in LA, go off Gramercy Place in Washington. But, you know, that's what they do. And so we got to look at both angles for that.
Brother, okay, I remember you talking about how like Puff kind of ruined a lot of me. My brother always said that. He was like, when that kind of Puff sound came in, going back Pop Diddy, whatever his name is, a lot of the music started to take a turn where a lot of the traditional sounds started to go away. What are some of the elements, fam, that he ended up basically incorporating that ruined a lot of the things that brothers and sisters really had built for years?
I always start with the song when he's at Uptown, Real Love. That's really started the Real Love by Mary J. Blige. When they brought that hip hop and beat, the hip hop influence in the rhythm and blues. See, the first word in rhythm in R&B is rhythm. You know, polyrhythmic and the distinct Black American sound, chord changes, bridges, codas, different parts of the music, those elements. Real Love was a 2-bar loop. Doom, 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 doom. Back to it. Doom, doom, doom. No real changes. And Mary J. Blige has a less than mediocre voice. Love her. I'm not shitting on Mary. Great. I'm not just talking turkey. If she was at any kind of Ebenezer Baptist church, she'd be the 10th out of 11 when it comes to the alto section. I'm just talking on that point, you know, not like or dislike. I judge everything on the church standard. The church standard, who are the singers in church? That's what the real singers are. And we used to have them in music. But when the 90s came, you started bringing in these mediocre voices. So that's one thing. Mediocre voices. He started pushing. And then when he had Faith Evans, extraordinary voice, had her singing, but he had her singing mediocre music. And when not using that voice that she has, you didn't know she could sing like that unless you went to one of her concerts. You know what I mean? Not pushing it. And the reason why that's dangerous is because, think about this. When you at church or at a concert and it's a Black woman up there singing from her spirit, is there anything more free than that?
No, nope. Not
the fellas, we can sing too, but fellas, let's sit because the fellas, we can sing, we do it too. And ladies, y'all can speak up. But when you hear a Black woman open up, that heals, man. It's like drinking water.
Woo!
You know what I mean? But you take that element out. Now you got the music, the live drums, the heartbeat, and the bass, laying the foundation, the rhythm. The live drums speaks to your heart, speaks to your rhythm. That kick pedal does this to your heart. You take that out. You know what I mean? You take, you take out horns. Horns free your mind. They free your spirit. Horns light a fire inside of you. Horns, they open you up. You take that out. Then you take out the background singing too.
Oh.
The background singers, these are the women that really shape the song, really. The back and forth. We just go to the 80s. Listen to Evelyn Champagne King or Stephanie Mills, that great singing of just 1988. And then go to 92. That level of singing crashes.
Oh,
and then the bands and the musicianships behind it. A bridge, a modulation, playing in C flat and then modulating that song up to D sharp. What it does, these things are chemical, they give chemical reactions in our body. And when the puffy sound came in, it just flattened all that shit. It just made it flat. And then it got worse when it got down to not initially Atlanta, the early years, 92, 93, TLC, Tony Braxton, but the post Tony Braxton era of Atlanta, as we get into the 2000s, Usher, when you get to Yeah, and you get the trap and B, all of the texture is completely gone. And this isn't about how anybody feels about these artists. I'm not telling you not to listen to them, not to like the song. I'm just speaking from a musical standpoint and what it does to our spirits. When you listen to the production behind the music, it all started with that Puffy era. Jermaine Dupri played part of that. You know what I mean? That whole era just really took away the lushness of our sound. You no longer needed to be the best singer anymore. You can just whisper now.
Yeah,
the whole whisper era of the late 90s, when everybody was trying to sound like Aaliyah. You don't have to sing anymore. Here's why that's dangerous, Black Alpha, and I know I'm being long-winded. But
talk your talk, brother. Talk your talk.
There's always a why that I say what I say. What that did was when you bring in these lower quality singers, when you make it to where someone could just come up with a creative 2-bar trap loop and get an R&B hit, no more ordering the strings. Like my father-in-law, Mr. Carmichael, when he did a song like All Night Long, which was a pop song too, he had a 32-piece orchestra behind it. He had singers. He said at some points he pulled in probably well over 100 musicians to get the part right. Damn. I mean, we're dealing with a wall of sound. You know what I mean? And then you flattened it. What that does is it opens the door for Rihanna to just come in, these tethers to come in. And I'm not going at Rihanna, but it opened the door for Tether and B, The Weeknd, Drake.
Yeah.
So these guys can just come in with this melancholy, mellow music. Rihanna literally pronounces her vowels and gets a hit. Ella, eh. She sounded like a fucking fire alarm. But that's a hit. Because the requirement isn't singing anymore. The Weeknd can do these 1/5 of a fifth of a Michael Jackson move and barely belt out a note and sell 50 million albums. Then, because it's always bring it back to us. Our FBA artists, we train our replacements by lowering the bar. We show them. And sometimes it's not all of our fault. You know what I mean? We just you look at somebody like a Dionne Warwick. Dionne Warwick showed white women how to sing like black women because she didn't sing with soul on purpose. She was crossing over on purpose. She wasn't intentional, but when the Dionne Warwick sound came in, that opened the door for Barbra Streisand and the Carpenters and all these other people. You know what I mean? And so later on, Celine Dion. They're all descendants of Dionne Warwick. And Dionne Warwick was not doing it intentional. That's just as a writer. But it was just her style. It was something. Johnny Mathis, his style, these less blackened styles opens the door for these other people. And so the same thing happened. We lessened our blackness in the 90s and in the 2000s. We started singing. When we started making auto-tune staple in our music, Chris Brown, great voice. Why are you using auto-tune? Yes, it's easier. But what it does is it now opens the door for K-pop. It now opens the door for Adele's old mediocre ass. I should call Adele's music mediocre and B. Adele can sell 10 trillion albums with that down on the other side. Oh, that song makes my fucking ears bleed. But it's mediocre and B. But the reason why these tethers and these mediocre and B artists can do that is because we opened the door when we lowered our sound. If we kept it up there where Stephanie Mills had it, if we kept it up there where Luther had it, God didn't stop creating Stephanie Millses and Luthers. These people just end up becoming background singers, and the industry don't put them out. They put out there's 10 singers. They give you singer number 9 and make him a star. When it's 8 other guys that sing way better, probably write better, those guys end up becoming writers, background singers. They end up becoming vocal coaches. You know what I mean? They get other jobs in the industry, but they ain't about to get no press to get a hit song. The people that get the hit song is the mediocre talent. And through us putting our mediocre talent out there, that opens the door for these fucking tethers every time.
Man, brother, right? See, you got me laughing. You said a long time ago, and I remember we had a conversation a long time ago, and you were talking about how composers are so vital to music, but don't get no type of spotlight. They talk about the artists, they talk about the damn the producers and all that, but the composers, and there's a whole industry full of composers that are so prominent in the music industry. Explain to everybody, and y'all, this game right here, I see somebody said I'm learning. This is why I had to bring my brother Dewan on here. You only gonna get this right here with our brother, family. Explain to people about composers, fam, and about the energy, the vibe, just the raw talent of being someone who's able to compose music.
I'll do that. I want to answer one question real quick. Somebody said in the chat that I'm saying that black people don't have talent. No, we do have talent. All I'm saying is the industry passes over the talent for the less, because if you put 100 black people out there, 1 through 99 is more talented than number 1 of any other race, generally.
Yep.
What I'm saying is our best of the best. I'm gonna answer your question in 1 second. Imagine it this way. We're watching NBA basketball, and you have the NBA guys, but the industry is choosing to get these guys out of high school because they can control them and put them in the NBA. Whole bunch of Bronny Jameses. The whole industry is getting Bronny and putting them in and saying, hey, he the best. When you got these really, really talented guys over here who don't get league jobs. They get other jobs. They'll become coach. They'll become this or that, but they won't get the promotion to be the best. That's what goes on in music. The best of the best don't get pushed. We still produce the greatest talent of all. Go to any church out there and you'll see it. But those people aren't going to get any budget for us to know who they are. That's all I'm saying. But going to what you were saying, now, go back to your question, you're talking about the composers. See, they basically wrote the composer out of music, and they're probably the most vital part. Duke Ellington, composer. You know what I mean? Billy Strayhorn, his composer. Quincy Jones, composer. Leon Haywood, composer. Norman Whitfield, his birthday was the other day. Stevie Wonder, these composers. And what composers do, they'll take a song. And Barry White, composer. Gene Page was his string conductor. Paul Reiser, who wrote all the string sessions behind Luther Vandross and a lot behind Stevie Wonder. Rock Your Love by Stevie Wonder. That's Paul Reiser's string arrangement. What they did was they would take a song that had a beat to it, that had a rhythm to it, and they would create they would wrap it around in 360 degrees of sound, filling in spaces. Music is a delicate balance between sound and between music and noise. It's a very delicate balance. You can have all these different sounds going in, but if it's not composed right and structured right, it's just going to be noise. You know what I mean? So the composer is the one that can compose a song, put it together, and then the arrangers write the arrangements, and that composer puts all together. Okay, let's take this horn part, and we're gonna play this horn part. This horn part's not gonna come into the 30-second measure. You know what I mean? We're gonna build a song. We're gonna start off with bass and drums, then at measure 4, we're gonna come in with the keys. At measure 8, we're gonna come in with, you know what I mean? And they build layers and they compose these layers, and nowadays they just give you, and what they replaced it with was just an 808. Now 808 just fills the sound.
Damn.
You didn't have an 808 back then. So you had to have strings that's going to come in and bring in layers. The bass, what it's playing. What is the lead guitar doing juxtaposed to the bass to fill in the space? You know what I mean? What flares and accents are the horns? Sometimes you need just a cowbell or you need a wood clave on the 2 and the 4 to support the snare. Maybe put a clap on top of it. And then I might have an offbeat just rhythm over here. And it's all these different layers. If you go and go back and listen to music out of the 70s and you really listen, don't stop. I implore people to listen to my show, Instance and Ashtrays. I point a lot of this stuff out. Don't just listen to the vocals. Listen to all the inflections going on underneath. You know, the I Want You album by Marvin Gaye. That's a masterpiece by Leon Ware. You know what I mean? What's going on in the background, these layers. The composers are the ones that compose and they put all of this stuff together. The composer, the arrangers, and then the producer gives the final sign off on it. But they got rid of these positions, and now you, for the most part, got a beat maker. Dr. Dre's a composer. He doesn't get the credit for that. Dr. Dre, they'll be like, Dr. Dre don't make his own beats. Hey, shut up. Quincy Jones didn't make none of them beats either for Off the Wall. You get the composer. Like, usually how it works is a chain of command. The sound is with the youth. It might be some 16, 20-year-old that got a song. That's it. But it's just a raw thing. It's the composer that comes in and takes that raw thing and wraps it up with the bells and the whistles and the spices and the herbs that make it a song. Ooh. You know what I mean? And so that's what a composer. DJ Quick is a composer. You know what I mean? These guys don't just have a beat. Like a beat's not, but the issue is in later music, as we get to music, especially over the last 15 years, everything is tick, 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 boom. You don't have the composers. It's tick, 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 30-second note, boom. Tick, 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 30-second note, boom. And it's just these raw. When you listen to a Drake song, Drake, most of his shit would have been a demo. Drake's voice, he couldn't have sang that shit 20 years ago. That nigga be humming. But nowadays, that's a hit. That shit would have been a fucking demo 30 years ago. It would have never seen the light of the day. But the quality has gotten lowered and lowered slowly since the mid-70s through now. That shit is now a hit. So now, but it's no different than it is with the quality of water, with the quality of movies, with the quality of the food, all these fake additives in there. It tastes the same to the novice if you don't know any better. You know what I mean? It look the same, so it must be the same. If you really dissect it, you're missing all these ingredients that could really enrich your soul and your spirit. And that's why it's important. Because all these ingredients we're talking about when it comes to composers, these sounds enrich your spirit, man. Your spirit needs this, man. Yo, all this stress we dealing with out there, traffic, driving home, dealing with daycare costing more than rent. You need something that's gonna free your spirit. And tick, 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 boom is cool, but is that freeing your spirit? When we have music out here, that is.
Hell no, brother. Do you feel that digital music and streaming has played the biggest role in deflating the energy from the music? Because now everything is just fast food, like you're saying. It's just, and it strips away everything. Because I know a lot of people are always talking about the actual means of recording, like analog, digital, and how it's consumed, how it's consumed. Because remember when we was younger, the damn art in the CDs or the tape in the book and reading it and seeing the thank yous and then the compose all that, they don't even have that no more. It's just streaming, boom, quick, bam. So you don't get to see anybody. How do you feel about like the digital recording aspect? Like you said, punching in things. I heard somebody said, they said you don't really have people, like you just said a minute ago, you just said it. They punch in beats, like the programmers really. They just a sound here, where it's nothing being played. Do you feel digital and streaming and all that's played a role in the way music has decreased? Because pretty much everybody says music clearly, and somebody says other than this is lying. Music is not where it used to be. Movies, art, nothing's where it used to be. What are the factors you feel, brother, that played a role in it becoming where it's at now?
I don't blame digital and streaming are just means to an end. It's how you use it. You know what I mean? Yes, music does sound more lush recorded analog. It does. But I've seen a lot of lush music recorded digitally. It comes down to the, what are you putting into it? My man Joseph Leonberg just dropped a single a couple of days ago. It's in the meditation realm, in jazz kind of. He recorded his stuff digital, and it sounds amazing. That's because he used live strings. He wasn't lazy. Most of these artists that because I've seen, going off what you just said, I've seen so many artists say that.
Oh,
and
okay.
really those artists have just been fucking lazy because it's and they capping. They're over here. And then part of it's budget, but they're using their budget to get a beat. If you're using digital to get a beat, then yeah, it's not gonna be there. But if you're using that budget to get a live drums, live bass, live horns, give me 3 background singers, tenor, alto, soprano, or maybe 2 altos and a tenor. It's the ingredients. That's what's missing. The fresh ingredients. Because Brandy Younger, I love her. She plays the harp. Taking the Bangers, Anderson .Paak. These guys, my man J-Mo, Jarris Mosey, Charlie Burrell just released an album, R&B album on Death Row. All live sounds. I was in the studio when they was recording it.
Woo!
Charlie, he was the one playing the guitar in Sinners.
Yeah. Okay.
He released the album a few months ago. I was in the studio with them doing some of this stuff. Live strings, live horns.
Yeah.
It was released on Death Row. Beautiful album, sonically. I mean, D'Angelo, although he records in analog generally when he releases stuff. I can go down the line. Leela James, Layla Hathaway, Vanta Black, the album that just came out last year, Vanta Black, last June. I mean, with this is a song that she did with Michael McDonald. It's fucking a wall of beautiful sound. It's out there. But if you want to get somebody to go program the beat on some pads, then you're going to get, that's the sound you're going to get. Like when I chef up my barbecue sauce, it's a big difference than when I get, when I chef it up with the natural ingredients, cut my onions, and do all the stuff versus using onion powder. You know what I mean? It's a difference when you chefing some stuff up. Are you using fresh ingredients? You using canned ingredients? You using these motherfuckers is past canned ingredients. These niggas is using spaceship ingredients, the kind of ingredients that you can sit on the shelf for 50 years and then wonder why it's not fresh. Go pick something out the ground and put it up in there and see if it tastes different. And people don't want to pick shit out the ground and put it in the music. They don't want to hire it. They don't want to spend the money. Because, like, I've seen that punching in work well. Like, one of the songs that I recorded recently, it didn't come out. The song that I did on this album didn't make the album. Well, I don't know if it made the album yet. I don't know if the album hasn't come out yet. But I heard the first rendition of it. It was. I'm an old school musician. I was gonna say you have to play the song all the way through. Joseph Lindbergh, when I was playing the drums for this, because my chops ain't what they used to be. I'm not a professional drummer no more. Man, this motherfucker got a bar. I put this perfect 2 bars down out of everything. It sounded good, but these particular 2 bars were just crazy in the pocket. Man, he took them 2 bars, cut, paste, and you'll never know he did that.
Damn.
So you can use this shit to your advantage. Just make sure the ingredients are real.
Brother, you made, in my opinion, and this is how I feel, your music family tree photo, to me, that's as good as it gets. That's as good. And it came, brother, you did that at the right damn time with the tethering out here and all these lies. You were talking about picture perfect timing. That came out at the same time. Just that alone ended and destroyed anybody's lie about music to hip hop. And to me, you was the star of Microphone Check, brother. When I was in the theater, everybody was laughing, brother. That word on everything, family. I put that on everything.
That's what's up.
Hip hop music, brother. I remember when I first met you, family, you said hip hop is derived from other aspects of music. Because a lot of younger people just think hip hop, boom, and that's it. And they don't associate it with the family tree, which in essence allowed a lot of people to come in and say, well, we started it. Where you point out how hip hop goes back, but it's coming from other aspects of music as well. Tell everybody, fam, just all of your insight and how, first off, how you made that family tree photo family, and also on top of where hip hop truly comes from and how we can't really pinpoint like a day and a time and anything because it goes back to the whole culture.
Well, how the tree came about, I was, and you know, some people are in the space, they want people to be all pure. I'm not a pure person. I'm pure intentions. But you know, I got my things. I was on a mushroom trip. I asked myself, I was taking some mushrooms, and I asked myself, I want to do something about this music stuff because people are not getting it, and I know niggas ain't gonna read a whole book, not now. What can I do? And I was taking some mushrooms. I was hiding the motherfucker, and the image of the tree popped in my mind. Okay, I could do a tree. Finish my trip out. I woke up the next day. I was a Friday night on a full moon. Because then I'm in all my esoteric shit. I practice this shit. But I don't preach it. I live it, you know? Mm-hmm. And I woke up the next morning on a Saturday morning, and I put 90% of that tree together off memory. Damn. I've been studying music my whole life. Not for a study, just because I love it. So I just like, and I took a bunch of college courses, music history, you know, so I got the academic side too, along with my ear. I met a lot of musicians, so I was like, okay, from ragtime to stride to jazz, and out of jazz we went to bebop, and from bebop we went to Latin jazz, went to Afro-Cuban, so a lot of that stuff was just okay. The top part of the tree, most of the top part of the tree was really just me, like, okay, yeah, from funk, backtrack, okay, funk, R&B, before R&B, yeah, boogaloo. You had, you know, but I'm saying out of blues has a boogaloo tree, it has a doo-wop tree, has an R&B tree, and out of R&B you get ska, you get rock steady. So, you know, I think I spent like 12 hours. I woke up the next morning out of my mushroom trip. I got to work at like 9 in the morning, and I was sitting on my computer at 10 o'clock that night. Damn. Just putting it all together. And then I put the raw part of it together. And then I spent like 6 or 7 months studying, making sure I was right. Because I didn't want no dickheads coming. What? This comes from this. This comes from that. Shut up. I didn't want that. So I took a few months then I had to study, because before blues, that's what made me ask the question, okay, what came before blues? So I went into real deep study of the music of the 1600s, 1700s, and 1800s. And I went and found different books, you know what I mean? I got some shit that's out of print, you know what I mean? I got books like this, you know, and I went online, found a lot of research, college journals from like different editorials from like University of Chicago, Harvard, read a lot of editorials to really get the base of the tree right, to what was going on. And then I combined that with interviews I've had, firsthand knowledge. Like when I put stand-up comedy in the middle of the tree, I got that from, I was interviewing Mr. Bobby Rush, and he's actually on the Sinners soundtrack. 90 years old, FBA, still alive, still touring. I interviewed him a few years ago, and he was talking about the Chitlin circuit and traveling with Moms Mabley and what's his name, Pigmeat Markham. You know, Here Comes the Judge, and then been on the same tour. He said in the Chitlin circuit, you couldn't just play the guitar, you couldn't just sing. You had to do it all. You had to entertain. These are sharecroppers. You got to entertain these cats. And he said, we got paid more money. You might get paid $7 to play the guitar that night, but you'll get $5 as an MC. So it's like, shit, I'm going to be the MC and a guitarist. So you learn, so you really get to see. And then when I saw Whoopi Goldberg's documentary on stand-up comedy, America, the Smithsonian, they recognized Moms Mabley as the first flat-foot stand-up comic. So I interviewed a guy that was on tour with Moms Mabley, and him talking about how that all came together. So through research of documentaries, and also through primary evidence, interviewing someone who was there, I was able to conclude that the whole stand-up comedy, as we know, comes from the same circuit as the blues, as jazz, as everything else. And so that was firsthand. Some of it stuff that I read, you know, grunge, Tina Bell. I knew that came. But then, for me, it's also ear. I don't want to say I'm born with the ear, but I've been playing music my whole life, so I have an ear. So I can hear something and where it comes from. So it was really the combination of all those factors that made me come up with the tree. And the reason why was because I felt that would be more effective than writing a book. I'm writing a book now,
Right.
I'm on chapter 7 of 13. This shit's already like at 400 pages. And I got like five more chapters to go, and I'm already like at a 400-page book. I gotta, I'm gonna have to edit some of this shit down. But that's where it came from. Because it was like when I thought everybody knew this shit that I didn't think this shit was unique. Honestly, I didn't. I didn't realize how much of a music nerd I am. I did not. I thought if you talked to me in 2020, before Busta Rhymes said that bullshit,
right?
I thought everyone was like, "What's he dudes talking about?" Like hip hop, it's a child, and that what made me go on that's something I've been saying since college. I was saying going back to the 2000s, if hip hop don't reunite with his granddaddy the blues and his grandmother jazz, somebody gonna take this shit the way it took everything else. Hip hop cannot stand up. Hip hop is too weak to stand alone. And no disrespect, I don't want any of you emotional ass niggas getting mad at me for saying that, but it is because I know we love hip hop, but hip hop is hip hop is still on his mama's titty of R&B. It's still why am I saying that? It's still sample reliant. The soundtrack you depend on is still dependent upon this sound from the 70s. You're not your own entity. You're not your own thing. The music of the 70s, they weren't doing what Motown was doing. Motown wasn't doing what Chess was doing. Chess wasn't doing it. We have to be able to understand how great we are as inventing and reinventing. Eras get like 3 to 5 years and we own something new.
Yeah.
We did Ragtime, then by 1910, get that shit out of here. We on Stride. We did Stride 1910 to 1919, 1920 hit. Louis Armstrong, King Oliver, jazz. Then big band jazz. And then by the early 30s, white people are getting into the big band. It's down to popular sound. White folks on it now. We on the bebop now. Then bebop, then we on the avant-garde. Then we on the modal jazz. Then we on to just the avant-garde. Then electro jazz fusion. Then we in R&B. R&B has so many tentacles. You know what I mean? And so, but all those other tentacles, they created their own sound. Hip hop didn't do that. Hip hop is only hip hop and house. I look at them two as twins, the twin children. Hip hop and house, and house by extension EDM and world beat, all them other beats. That's all, and that's all from disco. Whereas hip hop is more of a child directly of the funk. House music is more of a child directly of disco. When you get to hip hop and house, now the soundtrack is although there is some original music, but the original music is R&B based. You go and listen to One Love by Houdini. That's Larry Smith. That's an R&B producer. That's the R&B sound. But instead of somebody singing, they're rapping. So, and then when everything else is a sample. So if you're constantly relying on something for your soundtrack, you're married to that. You're tied to it. You can call yourself an adult all you want, but if you still living under mama's house, if mama's still buying your food and your groceries, is that woman gonna respect you like that? Is you a real thing? If you still living with mama in your 50s. I know hip hop just experienced hip hop 50, but hip hop is 50 still living in his parents' basement.
Damn.
That's just the truth. No matter how nobody feels about it. You know what I mean? And if you feel differently, tell hip hop to create its own soundtrack separate from what R&B did. The same way R&B had to differentiate itself from jazz, had to differentiate itself from blues. It used elements of jazz and blues, but it had to say, yeah, we over here, we doing this now. Hip hop never did that. And why am I saying this? Because musically, the music is the most important part of a song, baby. Don't nobody rap without music is just aggressive poetry, and no one gives a shit about poetry. That's just the truth. Poetry's our shit too, but name one Tupac poem other than the Rose poem, and then if you know it, name the lyrics. Tupac had hundreds of poems, right?
Yeah, you got a whole book.
Can anybody recite a poem?
No,
not a one. No one gives a shit about poetry. We care about rap. Why? Because of the music. But the music is still based in R&B. Look at GNX. Man, that was the song. You look at that song, the song that he did with the Reincarnated.
Yep.
The drum pattern is Steve Arrington, Weak at the Knees.
Damn.
The same drum pattern that Jay-Z and Jermaine Dupri did for The song, y'all want to floss with us?
Money Ain't a Thing.
Money Ain't a Thing. That's weak at the knees.
Oh man, goddamn.
So like, you know, when you listen to the music, even the biggest stuff that comes out now is still R&B. It didn't separate itself. So by definition, hip hop can't untether itself from our culture because it relies. And then they'll say, okay, well, that was a white band that did that one song that hip hop is sampling. Well, that white band was trying to sound like niggas. Like, you know, like they was doing some old European hidey hoo. It was just a white band trying to sound like us. Whether it be Led Zeppelin or the Beatles, those are just white people trying to sound like niggas. Still come back to us. Same thing with reggae. Reggae is just a Jamaican version of black R&B. Except for hitting the snare on the 2 and the 4, they hit the snare on the 3, but it's still R&B.
So that's the reason all go back to us at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's us. But like, I don't say that I get a lot of people who are really, really into hip hop. They'll get offended when I say that, and I don't mean to offend. But I am here to give credit to where credit is due. That's my mission. Let's recognize greatness. Let's recognize where things come from. Let's give people their credit, and you can get your credit on top. But don't do like Jay-Z, take everybody's lines and say, hey, look at how great of a writer I am.
Yeah.
You'll slick your shit somebody else wrote, and not just Biggie. Lauryn Hill said, I add a motherfucker so you idiots can hear me before you did. You know what I mean? So, and in hip-hop, artists couldn't do that when we had the bar high at a certain level. But when Jay-Z came in and we accepted him taking lines and making it his own, that's how you get Drake. You know, it's acceptable now. We used to have a bar that we no longer we've gotten rid of in the last 25 years, and it's opened the door and now the people that's the biggest in our sound ain't us. Because we lowered the fucking bar. Because I like this guy.
It's that come on in culture. It sound good. Come on in, my friend, and have a seat. As a matter of fact, you can sit in the front of the class.
Yeah, and then when it comes to R&B, I mean, when it comes to the sampling thing, the sampling, it has its place. And I have no issues with sampling in the vacuum. But at what point are we musically going to move on? There are infinite new sounds to be made. If we kept making new sounds every year from the beginning of recording through 1979, what's stopping us? Why do we get like? Again, I don't mind sampling, but it's when you're gonna rely that much, you have to go to where it came from.
You know what gets me too, family, is and I hate them old sensitivity old hip-hop heads. I don't like that, because anybody who gets super sensitive about the real roots of hip-hop, they really don't know hip-hop. And really, they're doing a disservice to Black American culture.
They really are.
I love hip-hop more than the next person, but this whole hip-hop is the root of life, and it started with hip-hop, and everything comes from rap. No, rap comes from everything. I can't stand that stuff.
You know what hip-hop rap is? If we wrote an essay on 100 years of recorded American music, if we wrote an essay on that, hip-hop, you know, you have your introduction paragraph, that's jazz and blues. Really spiritual root sound, because spiritual music came before gospel. The spirituals, blues, jazz. That's how we're going to start the essay. Then each paragraph has its own theme. Introduction, then you have R&B has a chapter, has a paragraph or a chapter, you know, boogaloo, jazz. If we're going to, then we get to all these different paragraphs or chapters in the book, and then you get to the conclusion chapter, the conclusion paragraph. What is a conclusion paragraph in an essay? A conclusion paragraph of an essay wraps up everything talked about. It doesn't introduce anything new to the story, but it wraps up everything talked about in the story and draws a conclusion. That's what hip-hop is. Hip-hop didn't introduce anything new, but it tied into a story the expressions that were all there, and then put it in the conclusion paragraph to say, hey, this is the greatness of a century of recorded Black American music. Here's a sample of this, a sample of that. We're going to take some rap. Want to talk about rap. The father of R&B, Louis Jordan, the first real pop R&B artist, Louis Jordan, he rapped. Go listen to a song called Choo Choo Boogie. He's rapping. Take me right back to the hat, Jack. Choo Choo Boogie, choo choo. And he's rapping and he's singing. You know what I mean? James Brown rapped. You know what I mean? Go and listen to the JBs. They rapped. Pygmy Markham rapped. You know what I mean? Dancing. Every form of black music comes with a dance. The cakewalk. We literally created a dance and a sound that imitated how white people walk. That's what the cakewalk is. During Reconstruction, we just thought we saw how easy they walked, like they had not a care in the world. So we created a sound, ragtime, and a dance called the cakewalk to imitate how these motherfuckers are. Damn. That's how we are. We cold like that. I mean, the crump era, the crump dancing, the crump music to go with the crump dancing, the juke in Memphis.
The man.
Juke sound. That ain't just, I mean, in the blues, you had the Chicago swing, you had the St. Louis, all these cats in bebop, every single sound we've ever created has come with a dance. Because the last time I checked, black people don't listen to good music sitting down. We get up and shake our motherfucking asses to it. No matter what it is. The break beat is a hip hop, as a funk thing. Funk introduced the break beat. Talking about looping. They always say, oh no, Cool Herc. He looped. No, it's called a vamp, you idiot, not a loop. And vamping, it's been around in all of our music. Some music more complex than others. You go back and listen to Howlin' Wolf, a song called Smokestack Lightning, which if you watch Sinners, Smoke and Stack, that was an ode to Howlin' Wolf that Ryan Coogler put in, Smoke and Stack. But look up a song called Smokestack Lightning. The whole song is a vamp. The whole song does that. Damn. And the reason why when Kool Herc said he spun, he did it like because the crowd responded positively to it. Why did the black crowd respond positively? I played in the band for 20 years. When you playing in church or somewhere, you may get to a part of the song and you just notice the crowd is really grooving to that part of the song. What do? You vamp it. Woo! So that's something black bands have always done. So it wasn't like Kool Herc discovered some new thing. Hey, let me play on a record and let me play this. Bands do that every fucking day. If it's a good band, you'll be looking in the crowd like, oh, we be in church. We be playing, we lift our hands in the sanctuary. We be playing that shit in church. And then you get to a certain part, the crowd really dancing, man. We might vamp out a part in church for 10 minutes. You know? And so these are all principles and things that is just old school in our shit. That hip hop kind of just put together, but it did not bring anything new. The only thing new was the technology of this how to record, but that shit went everywhere. Learned the 808, everybody do that. First time an 808 was used was in R&B. You know what I mean? The first time a drum machine was used was in funk. Go back and listen to Family Affair by Style of Family Stone. It's a drum machine. Chocolate City, the same Parliament album. That song is a drum machine. So the drum machines, the vocoder that would later on went to auto-tune, Herbie Hancock was doing that before Roger Troutman on his albums using the not vocoder, the talk box. The talk box was a thing that jazz introduced. Damn, you know what I mean? And so like, there's literally nothing that hip hop brought us new, but it did put together a lot of things that we were already doing. And it basically, again, it was a conclusion paragraph at the end of a beautifully written essay on American music for 100 years. That's what it is. That's all it is.
Brother, all right. You just threw me a super alley-oop. Okay. I remember when I was young, I remember hip-hop was kind of big. I mean, it was on the come up. You know, it was doing its thing. Oh, we about to cook. Hold on. I got a couple questions for you, fam. They loving you in the chat, by the way, brother. Okay.
Salute to the chat.
I remember when hip hop was, in say like the late 80s, early 90s, when really it was still kind of dominated by the East Coast, and it was kind of doing its thing. When I remember hip hop taking a turn to where they started bringing in boatloads of money and outsiders really started to embrace it was really kind of around the West Coast era, the Death Rows and all of them. Because I remember my parents, they didn't really listen to like LL Cool J and them.
Yeah.
it was the sampling. I remember my parents used to listen to. I was just listening to the other day. Doggy Style. What's My Name by Snoop.
Yep.
My parents used to tell me, they were like, "Oh, that's a sample."
We listen to Dre Day and all that stuff.
Dre Day, yep. Gin and Juice, all that. And I feel
all that, yep.
Personally, I feel like the average person who was maybe not all the way into like East Coast hip hop at the time and all that kind of stuff, I think they heard a lot of those samples that G-Funk era. I was just listening to Warren G the other. Warren G is my daddy's favorite rapper. Recipes my dad. My daddy's favorite rapper.
Regulate.
Love Nate, Warren G. And I feel like people heard that. And this is when rap went to, it was already on the come up, but it went to another level based on some of the West Coast samples that G-Funk.
MC Hammer.
That's where I was heading, brother. That's where I was going. Everybody out there, if y'all, Hammer get all love. First off, Hammer, this to your point, my mama used to play, I was the biggest MC Hammer fan in the world. Like, come like 1990, I was a little boy, and you couldn't tell me nothing about MC Hammer. MC Hammer always, in this to your point about music, he'd always have a gospel song on every one of his
That's
albums.
why we pray.
That we play just to make it today. Please don't pass me by. And my mom used to, I used to listen to Hammer. My mom be in there cleaning, listening to the gospel record. But for everybody out there that don't know about Hammer, and Hammer gonna get his love. The man sold 10 million records in, what was it, 1989? People don't understand. Only so many people have went diamond. The brother went diamond before folks was really going platinum, double platinum consistently. Brother, it's all on you about that West Coast, that sample influence, that MC Hammer, and who I believe, and my friend told me a long time ago, and this is no shade to nobody, because, I love everybody. My friend told me a long time ago, he said, if MC Hammer was from New York, he would be considered the GOAT. But the fact that MC Hammer is from Oakland, and he came out from Cali when Cali was on the come up, New York would not allow somebody to sell 10 million and not be considered the greatest of all time. The fact that if MC Hammer was, it don't matter where Hammer was from, it's where he wasn't from New York. If he was from New York City, he would be on everybody's Mount Rushmore, because you got people on the Mount Rushmore who have no business being on some of these folks' Mount Rushmores, who did not sell they ain't sell a piece of the records Hammer sold. I feel Hammer doesn't get his credit, and I know people kind of use the money thing, and they say he sold out or whatever, which, by the way, everybody started doing 4 years later. Hell, Puff, right? Puff did this. All the things they critique Hammer about. Hammer don't get his credit. I remember the dancing. Somebody said entertainment. The man could dance. He had all those elements back in the day, brother. Explain to people about MC Hammer. Shout out to Hammer if you listen to Hammer, because much love.
Yes, salute to MC Hammer, man. Really, that Bay Area, it happens a lot. Like, you'd be hard pressed for New York that night. Too Short, and Too Short been rapping just as long as LL Cool J.
Real talk.
Short dropped in '83. You know what I mean? People don't understand on the West Coast.
Damn.
And last month I interviewed Alonzo from a Worldwide Wrecking Crew, the person that discovered all of the NWA.
Right.
We talked about the roots and the origins of West Coast hip hop. And the West Coast hip hop, one thing that a lot of people, even KRS-One didn't even know when he was on Be Real show, that we even had we had our own thing over here that was grown independently from New York. New York had its thing, but when Rappers Delight hit on the radio, the West Coast started doing its own version of rap music, because rap opened the door for people to do music that couldn't sing. You no longer have to sing anymore. You could speak in the cadence. You can make music. You know what I mean?
Right.
So our hip hop scene cultivated in its own ecosystem. It wasn't looking and seeing it wasn't on internet back then. So it wasn't looking and saying, what's New York doing? Other than watching movies like New Jack City and Beach Street, we didn't know what the hell was going on over there.
Yeah,
you know what
things
I mean?
were closed off back then.
Yeah, it was all closed off. So we cultivated our own sound, our own Interstate 5 highway commerce of music, West Coast, Oakland to LA. And Hammer came up in that money getting Oakland section when Too Short was selling records out of the album, out of the trunk. MC Hammer was selling records out of the trunk. Matter of fact, that's where Master P got the game in Oakland before he took it down to New Orleans. And so it's that street hustler mentality, you know what I mean? But at the time when Hammer broke through, back then we gatekept hip hop. Hip hop had a caution of anybody that got popular, because pop meant that you must be them people. And hip hop was, at that time, hip hop had a standard, and it was protecting itself from commercialization. So in some ways, a lot of ways, Hammer was hated on, but the root of a lot of that hate was protecting hip hop from the same commercialization that R&B went through. You know, R&B in the late 70s, like they basically kicked funk out. You know what I mean? In the early 80s, R&B got hella white. You know what I mean? You had James Ingram, and I love it. Don't get mad at me. I love these artists, but you have songs like James Ingram singing "Find 100 Ways." That Carlton nigga R&B music, where it's like that was like Boule classics. You know what I mean? P.O. Bryson. It was all making Boule and B. You know, you know that's why I call it Boule and B. 80s, am I lying though? 80s R&B, it got real cheesy. You know what I mean? Howard Hewitt had all the shags and I'm for real and all that. It was just real it was just real light and non-offensive. And they X'd out Don Blackman. They X'd out, they made Cameo go from a band to that electric sound and didn't want to play them on the radio. You know what I mean? They X'd out Midnight Star. They X'd out Confunk, the D-Train, the more how we like it, a little more seasoning and spice on it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's what we got to realize. This is what's going on in the early 80s on the R&B side. Hip hop is that generation that's coming up. And they're seeing what was going on in the 70s, how raw our music was, how it made us feel a certain way. To find 100 ways. It was just, we still liked it, but it was just, you know, just another day without you. Baby, can you stop these things? You know, that music that was playing when your mama was in May Company trying on some new stockings. You know? So hip-hop was very cautious about going down that road. So when Hammer came out and Can't Touch This did what it did, and it was very poppy, it was hip-hop. Although Hammer took unnecessary bullets, it was still in some ways necessary because that was hip hop saying, hell nah, y'all not about to do to this form of music what happened to my parents' music. Black folks never stopped loving Funkadelic. The recording industry stopped producing them. Look, George Clinton's last hit was his biggest. Part of his last hit was his biggest hit, Atomic Dog. How do you have this mega hit that knocked Thriller off of #1 and then say we're not going to produce any more of that sound? Take this milquetoast version of R&B instead. And again, no disrespect, but that's just what the industry did. Documented. So we gotta, damn documents, open your ears. Just listen to this shit. You know, listen to music from 79, 77, then listen to music from 87. Way more cheesier. Hip hop did not want that to happen. And so Hammer became the fall guy for that.
Damn.
He got too hot, too fast, because it made hip hop be like, hold on, who sent you? But that was also the same era of hip hop that when Vanilla Ice came in, it was Arsenio Hall that checked his monkey ass. Hold on.
Yep.
Who are you really?
Yep.
Hip hop was a strong protector of the music not getting commercialized. And then it ended up happening. And unfortunately, a lot of people that went at Hammer, a lot of people from the late 80s, early 90s, you didn't hear them releasing albums in 96, 97, 98. Sort of a new crop came in around 96. And then, and people forget, that's why I go back to Jay-Z. Jay-Z was around when Hammer was there. When nobody listened to his ass. And Jay-Z in 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95. But when the OGs like Biggie and Tupac died, and then they stopped reciting the real guys, and they came up with this more fluff and puff R&B post 1997. DMX is one of the last real niggas that they signed after 96. After that, you know, you had a whole bunch of F-boy rap. You know what I mean? You had, you know, the Cam and Mace with that BS that they was putting out. And look at their podcast now, still talking that bullshit. Simple ass music with simple ass perspectives on the internet. Niggas in their 50s still arguing with Dipset. They brought it that whole, we see that era on the internet now. 50 Cents. The fuckboy era came in. And we see what these fuckboys are doing right now on the internet. 60 years old, great chinny chin hairs going at it. You know what I mean? And so, but those guys came and did what Hammer was criticized for doing. Damn. And we had that that was an appropriate fear. Because what did Ice Cube say on True to the Game? Pretty soon it won't be no more Ice Cubes, just Vanilla Ice. And that's what happened. Hammer was just a victim of us being on cold.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because there's a clip of Tupac talking about Hammer. And this was on like 91, and he was being critical hammer, but you're right, he was like the perfect kind of like it's the fall guy for gatekeeping. Brother, okay, so you connect a lot of dots. That's why I love that tree photo you got, brother. All right, being originally from the Midwest, and we just talking about how like Master P got his game from out there, and music connection from region to region, shall I say. The Midwest, and I think me and you talked about this on Space before, there's always been a connection musically with the Midwest and the West Coast, even going all the way up to you Bone Thugs are from Cleveland. Most people think that they from LA from being with E. Mac Dre was heavy in like Kansas City. He was like Kansas City when hyphy really started to blow. Kansas City, I was in Kansas City at the time. Kansas City, it looked like the Bay. Like everybody knew Mac Dre's song. He was just as big in Kansas City as he was anywhere. There's going back to Boosie Collins, Roger, like we talked about that. They were more heavy in the Midwest. I remember being a young child in the Midwest, and yes, we listened to East Coast music, but I've even heard Bones say they were like Snoop and Dre and Ice Cube and NWA. They were bigger in the Midwest than a lot of the East Coast acts were. What's always been that vibration, that connection between the West Coast and the Midwest, and also the West Coast, obviously, in the South? And I know with the South, it's got a lot to do with the migration or whatever, but there's always been a connection. And I feel the West Coast has always been that connecting source to everything musically. Like you see West Coast elements everywhere in hip hop and R&B and everything. I can't necessarily say you see other people's elements everywhere as much as the West Coast.
Yeah, like West Coast, we kind of stick to our guns. Like we never got in the trap, we never got in the drill. Like y'all got it. We gonna stick to what we do over here out west. You know what I mean? But a lot of it's environment. Places like Ohio and California, Michigan. These are car towns. Open. So you ride in your car versus in New York, where East Coast trains, people in the subways, underground, tall buildings, it's going to require a louder boom bap sound because the music is a sonic interpretation of your environment and has to cut through your environment. You know what I mean? In Ohio, Toledo, y'all had car jobs. In LA, we had car jobs. Right. That's why lowriders were invented out here. This is black folks that work for Ford and parts places out here in California. People understand how much cars and aeronautics, they think LA Hollywood. And the black people was working at Ford and GM and the parts places and at Boeing and things like that. But it's open. You places where you have time on the weekend to roll your car. It's it's not built up, it's built out. It's open. It's people outside, so the music's gonna be more open. The music's gonna have a certain function to it, to where it's gonna have a certain. Miles Davis, when he left New York, he came to LA and came out with an album called Birth of the Cool, which is the beginning of a genre known as cool jazz, which is now known as smooth jazz. That smooth Kenny G jazz. That's California music. You know what I mean? And so, but it started with Miles Davis when he came out here to California. It's the environment, the similar environments as far as the open. The same thing with the South. South is open. South, Florida cats and them motherfuckers will put some 47-inch rims on a Chevy Caprice and be rolling. You dig? You know what I mean? Down south, you cats have a 1987 Cadillac to this day, looking clean than the motherfucker. Y'all will get down south. I ain't talking about the gentrified South. I'm talking about the South. You know what I mean? It's the car culture in a lot of ways. So that common bond, in areas where you mostly travel through car versus traveling through trade plays a lot into it. You know what I mean?
And how you feel about this comment right here? Because I see you fam. It said, but the West Coast has a ceiling. It's centered around gang culture, so the music can't really evolve. That's why West Coast rap still sounds the same. I don't agree with that.
My only question I would ask him is, has your head been out of the sand anytime in the last 6 months? Last year, because GNX is now the highest performing album in hip hop history.
There you go.
This is the highest grossing tour in hip hop history already. Hip hop has never had a solo artist do a stadium tour. You can't get 10 niggas from the 90s together to fill up a stadium. One guy from the West Coast doing it right now, so I don't know what that dude is talking about.
And what was
literally happening in the current time? Exhibit
used to make more conscious rap back in the day. What's the guy? He just Saphir, Razzcast even. These guys don't make gang rap.
Ice Cube,
Cube.
people who narrow West Coast down to gang is Anderson .Paak. Anderson .Paak is out doing way more than most people. He ain't gang talk. I mean, our music is so musically sophisticated. What's his name? Kendrick's "To Pimp a Butterfly" album.
Oh man,
it premiered West Coast jazz artists like Kamasi Washington is a preeminent saxophonist in the world out of LA. You know what I mean? Terrence Martin. I mean, you go down the list. There's so many. Look at Steve Lacy's LA. You know what I mean? Look what he's doing. Look at what what's the other Tyler the Creator. I mean, West Coast music is so eclectic. You look at Flying Lotus on the EDM side. All these people are from the same streets as Kendrick. You know what I mean? And Nipsey. I mean, like for real, like when I was in my 20s, I would see Nipsey selling stuff on the corner, TDs on the corner, and go down the street to the Royal Chase Theater to see Kamasi. One second.
Yeah.
Come on, Rocky. Come on.
Somebody in the chat. Yeah, Defari. Good point. Good point.
So, like, West Coast. Sorry about that, big boy.
Far Side. There you go. Yeah.
Far Side. Rocky wanted to come on inside here.
What up?
Say what's up, Rocky. Say what's up to the people. My little Frenchie. But say what's up to the people, Rocky.
y'all get Rocky a certified salute.
but we had, you know, it's a very far, Della Funky Homo Sapien, Souls of Mischief, Far Side. I mean, the sound out here is eclectic. The issue is, and I talked about this on one of my shows before, the gang stuff is just what people are attracted to. So if the only thing you see out of the West Coast is the gang stuff, that's just me saying that tells me more about you than it does the sound. Because you know that just shows what you're attracted to. And that's fine. Be attracted to whatever you're attracted to. But I mean, out the West Coast, out of South Central, you got the highest jazz artists, selling jazz artists, Kamasi Washington. You got Anderson .Paak that's doing all kind of crossover kind of stuff, but still keeping it black. Very black, his music. I love Anderson .Paak. You know, you got Leela James on the R&B side. You got it's so eclectic the sound that's out here. But going back to what you were saying as far as like the West Coast and the Midwest, it's the environment thing, and it's also, you know, like funk, James Brown, King Records, Cincinnati. Although nobody in the band was from Cincinnati, everybody in that band was from the South. But the next place, that's where it got that spark. But where funk germinated before it got back to the Midwest was the West Coast. Sly and the Family Stone out of Oakland. War out of Compton, Long Beach. People forget about War.
Yeah.
You know, Lowrider and all that stuff. These are the songs that helped give funk its legs. The Watts 103rd Street Band, Charles Wright, Leon Haywood, the Watts 103rd Street Band. These were the bands in 70, 71, 72, when the Ohio Players were still playing jazz in the late 60s. Parliament Funkadelic, they were still playing more rock and roll, heavy metal sound music in the early 70s. It was the West Coast that was really germinating funk. And then by 72, Ohio Players, 73, that's when Pain drops. And then 74 is when Up for the Downstroke came from Parliament Funkadelic. And 74, Up for the Downstroke was Parliament Funkadelic's first funk song. Before that, Alice in My Fantasies, No Head, No Backstage Pass. That was all more rock-based music. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then from there, down the Ohio Players blow up, Junie Morrison. And then in the mid-70s, the Midwest take funk and just take it to a whole nother level. And they just all them, and then you know, bands like Lakeside, they came to LA and got with Solar Records, you know what I mean, from the Midwest. And then the Midwest, you know, Zapp and Roger, it was Death Row. Death Row kept them cats working. Kept Roger Troutman working. Like Steve Arrington talks about how it was the West when funk was killed. It was when the 90s hit, the West revitalized his career. Steve Arrington from Slave. You know what I mean? Okay. He's the one that played the drums on that song, Weak at the Knees. The song that Money Ain't a Thing.
Yeah.
Kendrick, that was Steve Arrington on drums.
Damn.
And so he talks, so the West, Death Row Records would always have Bootsy Collins, George Clinton, Roger Troutman, Steve Arrington. those Midwest funk legends, the West Coast put money. Like, forget all that talking. It was the West that had these cats in the studio. We're not gonna do that bullshit Puffy did and just take a 2-bar loop of your song and say get out the way. No. We want you in the studio to help work this mix. So I think a lot of that has to do with that too, the openness. LA is a lot more humble than people give it credit for as far as willingness to work with people. We really are. The bravado stuff, the gangster rap, that is an element. But even the gangster rap guy, look at somebody like Snoop. The reason why Kamasi Washington is the #1 jazz artist on the planet was because when he was in his 20s or late teens, Snoop was taking Terrace Martin, Thundercat, Brandon, all these cats that are now at the head of jazz. Snoop had them on the Up and Smoke tour.
Damn.
Snoop was taking, like, it was on blue carpet treatment because West Coast have always kept a live music sound.
Yeah.
1500 or nothing crew. 1500 was these people were always in the studio. So like the guys that are at the forefront of jazz now, Thundercat, Alternative, these guys were in the studio with the West Coast hip hop guys 20 years ago. Damn. So it's always been this relationship and their appreciation for the live sound that Ohio still maintains. I mean, not just Ohio, the Midwest still maintains. Because you got to realize Midwest swing started in Kansas. Like New York gets a lot of credit for stuff that got started in Kansas. Swing is a Kansas sound. Bebop, that's a Kansas sound. Kansas is so vitally important. Kansas and Chicago. Gospel started in Chicago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so a lot of the stuff, the Midwest created a lot of stuff that eventually got to New York and got popularized there. But a lot of that stuff started in the Midwest. R&B, you know, was a Midwestern sound initially, but it was LA that the first R&B record labels took off. R&B was where, that's how LA established its music scene. Chicago didn't want to deal with R&B. New York didn't want to deal with R&B. So how LA got its foothold in the music was through R&B. You know what I mean? But a lot of Midwestern artists were out here. So it's always been some kind of a relationship between the Midwest and the West Coast.
I used to always vibe on that when I was younger because I would just catch it. And then I started seeing, like you're saying, so many artists that would work with each other from both sides. And I'm glad you brought up Kansas being that family because definitely they don't get no credit. I always say, you know how they say St. Louis is the gateway to the West. I always say it's really Kansas City. You know what I'm saying? I always say everything is east or west of Kansas City. They say St. Louis. I say Kansas City because they don't really get their vibe as well. And another thing I want to say about Kansas, or that portion of the Midwest. Really, hold on. Let me take it up a little further. Prince, brother. That's who I want to ask you about because I know Prince. When Prince first came out, his music was like it was different. It had a different vibe, but it was it funk? What did they classify Prince's music as? I just seen something with was it Quincy Jones, and he wasn't talking too well about Prince at the time. He was saying how Prince can do better here and he's mediocre and all that. What was Prince really classified as? Because he came really with that Midwest different style.
He came in really on the heels of funk. He was sounding a lot like Rick James and George Clinton. You hear a lot of Rick James, George Clinton early on. Okay. I Want to Be Your Lover, that era Prince. But the reason why, and when you listen to Quincy Jones said that, he was talking about his play. And if you listen to early Prince on the guitar, a lot of that is a lot of Jimi Hendrix. And more so than Jimi Hendrix, a lot of Muddy Waters.
Okay.
You know what you're listening for, a lot of your early Prince guitar licks.
Yeah.
Straight up Muddy Waters. And people don't understand that, you know, how much Muddy Waters meant. And so, and Prince was, but that's one of the steps of evolution. It starts off before you become an innovator, you got to imitate first. You imitate, and then through that, you imitate, amalgamate, innovate. Those are the 3 steps of innovation. First part is imitation, then you amalgamate that with you, and then from there, innovation goes, and you move it forward. What Prince did that got him a lot of heat was early on in Prince's career, he bragged about no horns. The Minneapolis sound was playing the horn parts on the keys.
Damn.
So Prince in a lot of ways, he's in the tradition of Black artists. That it all changed in the 80s. 80s is when things got really structured. But those guys that got in late, Prince got in 79. Those guys that got in before the 70s, it's a different thing. You played everything because all of it's our music. Purple Rain is a country western song. Purple Rain.
Yeah.
Purple
Oh,
Rain.
yeah.
That's country western.
Mm.
You know what I mean? You play a little bit of everything. Michael Jackson, the song on Bad. You knocked me off of my feet. That's that song.
Yep.
That song, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know talking about.
That's 12-bar blues. You know what I mean? You listen to Billie Jean. Billie Jean is funk. No, I'm sorry. Billie Jean is funk. Beat It's rock and roll. Prince. You listen to what's that song? Not only what's that song? Oh, just listen to the song the other night. Let's Go Crazy.
Yep.
That's gospel rock.
Damn.
That's gospel rock.
Oh man,
you can't. It's like Stevie Wonder, Songs in the Key of Life. It's barely 2 songs on that whole album is in the same genre. You know what I mean? Our music is always Earth and Fire, Parliament. We've always been multi-genre with our stuff because all of them are genres.
Yeah.
You know, Jimi Hendrix's last album before he died, the one he did live at the Fillmore was funk. And he's the father of rock. Man. You know what I mean? So we've always jumped around. James Brown got a song called something about black. It's called Blackness. It's a jazz song, you know, on a JB's album.
Yep.
So we've always been like that. That's some post 80s shit to narrow a black person down into one. And now how it is for hip hop. Like I'll see people criticize Snoop for doing a gospel album. Like, no, fool. Ray Charles. You know, we've always been multi-genre. Yeah. And so that's more so what it is a Prince. Let this dog out. Go ahead.
No, it's funny you say that though. It's funny you say that because there's really no way you could take a black artist and try to pigeonhole them in terms of what to do. Like with Snoop. Snoop make all the gospel album he want. He black, grew up in the church.
You can't pin us down to a genre. You know what I mean? When we are at our best. That's why I said we had to lower our quality for them to catch up. That goes back to how we started this whole program. They had to lower the quality of what we do for everybody else to catch up. They'll say, hey, black people, stop. Now everybody else, come on. We're going to give you 40 years to catch up. And then when a black person steps outside and Beyonce does a country album, oh, no, it's the worst thing in the world. Oh. I'm not the biggest Beyonce fan, but I'm so glad she did that.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
Because all this shit is ours. Even if somebody here said Snoop Lion gets hate from reggae artists, yeah, they hating because they forgot who their daddy is. Woo! Reggae's daddy is R&B. Shut the fuck up and let the man express. We gave it to you. Johnny Nash was the first person to sign an American. He released a song, I Can See Clearly Now, the Rain Is Gone. Him. Yep. He's the person that signed Bob Marley and the Wailers to their first record deal. It was black Americans investing in Jamaica. It was the Jamaicans trying to sound like us that gave them their sound. So what if one of our artists want to do reggae? That shit's ours anyway. If you want to get technical.
That's funny how they try to do that. And our sister made a damn good point too. I remember when, as soon as he made that, they was, how can you make that? They had every little hateful thing to say about Snoop. I thought the music was good. I liked it. Listen, I thought when Snoop did his be honest with you, I like Snoop's catalog, to be honest with you. Snoop is just consistent. Snoop is consistent. I thought it was good music, and I seen them hating on it. I was like, y'all just hating the hate at that point. They were just hating the hate for no goddamn reason. And like you said, other than they deep down and they may not want to admit it, but they know we outclass them.
Right. Because I'm going to hate on it because if you niggas come over here, we can't keep up.
Yeah,
they can't keep up. Our music at its best. That's why I like what Kendrick does, jumping around, you know, with different stuff, you know. My favorite Kendrick album is the untitled, unedited album with no name. You know what I mean? It's so musically, it's so superior. What's going on in that Vance, the 618, it only has dates. People they be forgetting about that album. He has some songs with Thundercat and with Adrian Young and Ali Shaheed Muhammad. Ooh. You know what I mean? Hey, that's the thing coming out of Call of the West Coast, the whole Jazz is Dead series. I hate the title of the series, but Adrian Young and Ali Shaheed Muhammad from Tribe. You know, they for the last 10 years, they've been consistently putting out some great music, live streams, recorded in analog, you know, background singers, live band. man, it's such good music. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, it goes to show you when, like you said, brother, there's so many good people out there. What you say is everybody's ear. It's your ear. Where, like you said, what you said earlier, you said they didn't stop making great artists. It's just about the ear and going to look for the music or going to find the music. I ain't saying look for it because it's easy, accessible. But like you said, there's so much good music out there because they never stopped.
They never stopped. But what they did was they messed up the chain of command. The chain of command used to be if you had to have talent first. You had to really be able to sing. You came up. You may start out as a background singer like Luther did.
Right.
You got to sing. And then when you were seen as something that they can do something with, they teamed you with a producer that put together a live sound that complemented your voice and complemented the song. You know, I remember my father-in-law when he worked with I asked him about working with Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye, this is when he was working on the Trouble Man album with Marvin Gaye. He said Marvin would come in with a concept like, the concept of this song is the woman left me and I'm not feeling good. So now the composers and arrangers, they're gonna come up with string parts that are in the key that pull, because the keys all do different things to your body. It's gonna be at a tempo. If I want to have you dance at the black dance tempo is between 101 beats a minute and 119 beats a minute. White people dance at 130 beats a minute and faster. If I want you to mellow and relax, I'm gonna put you between 80 and 96 beats a minute. If I want you to kind of be in the pocket grooving, if I want to touch your heart, I'm putting the song in 6/8 time signature. You know what I mean? All these things go into it. If I want you to be all the way mellowed out, I'm gonna go 60 BPMs. And so you get these expert wizards, these James Carmichaels, these Paul Risers, these Gene Pages, these Leon Wares, Gamblin Huff, Don Bell. Gonna go down the list all day with these Hal Davis down these lists, and Hal Davis to get and produce with them, put with them. Norman Whitfield was just as great of a producer as Marvin Gaye was a singer. So when you know, and as the Temptations was as a group, you know what I mean? So, and Smokey Robinson was just as good of a songwriter as the Temptations were a singer. So when Smokey Robinson writes My Girl, expert songwriter with his expert group that gets put with Norman Whitfield to compose music that surrounds it, then you get those bridges like dun, 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 dun. That part of the song just feel good, don't it?
Yeah, man. Woo. And high frequency.
Yeah, it's just that bridge alone just makes, if you didn't know a word that song was saying, the music makes you feel it. And so what happened was the best artists got pushed into the writing, into the other culture category, and they got not the best singers to put them with the producers. Your great arrangers, they just all wholesale got kicked out of the industry. The musicians, let's bring in these guys that do beats, and then let's give this song. Whereas a song, to say a song average was $100,000 budget to put this song together, now we're gonna give you a $40,000 budget. You know what I mean, or whatever. The budgets got cut, and so the best singers aren't matched no more with the best producers, the best bands. Yeah, Norman Whitfield and Rolls Royce. Rolls Royce was a band out of LA, and they was a good band, but it took them being matched with Norman Whitfield, the genius producer, to really get that sound out. Now the great producers, they get assigned to Adele, they get assigned to Drake, they get assigned to Post Malone, they get assigned to the pop guy, or no disrespect, but they get assigned to Usher. Usher's a good singer, but he's not a great singer. They get assigned to Beyonce. She steals a lot of her shit, well, allegedly. Well, she signed a whole bunch of NDAs. But Beyonce, she gets the best producers, the best arrangers. But Jill Scott got to get it however she get it. You know what I mean? Everybody else is kind of Jasmine Sullivan, these other singers, they don't get that. They get what their budget can afford. The best people go work with these mediocre non-black artists now. So it's the environment. It's the environment of music that there's a way to get this done. You got to match talent with talent with talent. But a lot of your best black behind the scenes talent usually gets, once they find out that person is, they may get an introductory album with this person, but once they find out that person is that, they don't get plucked away and put with non-black artists or a black artist that don't have the talent of these other 100 black singers sitting here. and those singers with all the talent, they're not going to get matched with the right production, or they do get matched with the right production, they won't get a budget to advertise it and to push it. So now that's why we got to find it, because the best talent's not getting put together. The best behind the scenes talent is getting put with the most mediocre front talent, and the best front talent is not getting matched with with budgets and things like that, to like they did in the 70s, to really push the sound out.
Brother, what do you think the next step is in terms of music? Like where the creation, where the culture is going, or is it hard to predict or incapable of predicting? But like, where do you feel as we go through the list of where the culture is taken and all these different sounds and how everything now is like a good mix in? Where do you think is going to go to the next step in terms of the music advancing?
What's next is a decentralized thing. This whole celebrity thing is fake anyway. Number one, Michael Jackson was the last one of the only real all the way famous crossover stars. Music is personal. So all is looking for a number one. Yeah, number one is gonna number one music is going AI, and we're already conditioned for it. Chris Brown and Drake over the last decade have conditioned us to AI and all this auto-tune program stuff. AI is gonna take their slots. You know what I mean? What's gonna happen is you're gonna have a lot of great artists that are gonna find their audience. And they may not be crossover great, but they're gonna be selling. Like Anderson .Paak is somebody that don't get talked about in mainstream. But I saw him when I went to go see him. He sold out the Hollywood Bowl last year. That's 18,000 seats. You know what I mean? I saw him in 2019, sold out the Forum, 17,000 seats.
Damn.
You know what I mean? You're gonna have people finding music is going back regional, which needs to be. And that's what Kendrick Lamar proved with GNX.
Yep.
I did a review on that on my show. Music has to be regional. You got to make music that feels good to you, and through satisfying yourself, that's how you satisfy the world. When you try to go out and reach out for that crossover, every time you try to reach out, you're losing a bit of yourself. You know what I mean? And all this intentional crossover, that's all pop is black music without the flavor. It's just black music that white people like. You know what I mean? It's black. It's usually take a black sound, a black way of making music, take a lot of the herbs and spices out of it, speed it up a little bit, make it a little more bland, so it's be more mass consumed for everybody else. It's airplane food. You know what I mean? People, like all this shit we going through with people losing their jobs, all this stuff, people gonna have to start listening to music that's gonna talk to what they're talking about. And you're gonna get that from people who aren't trying to be pop crossover. You're gonna get that from people who just want to make good music out of their spirit, out of their heart, and out of their soul. So music is going back regional. And then from people, different regions will push certain artists to the top to where they're more popular than others. But that's what it's going back to, a bunch of artists eating well off their own cult followings. And my favorite 3 artists is going to look way different than somebody else's favorite 3 artists, because pop is going AI. And, people who are stuck on that, they're going to be in a little world over there.
Man, brother, one thing I noticed too is that a lot of the live bands and the older acts, whether people know it or not, like you said, I'm glad you pointed out, a lot of them be selling out places, and a lot of these young rappers, like what's the guy's name? Bobby Schmurder. They
had to cancel his tour.
Tickets. He couldn't even sell his tour.
Busta Rhymes had to cancel his tour last year.
Yeah. That's because a lot of work y'all was giving them, man.
Yeah, was giving that work.
Real stuff. You're
Yeah.
one of the main people responsible why Busta's tour got canceled. He probably right now in Jamaica waking up, man, throwing goddamn curry chicken at the screen.
Right. Get that jerk chicken, man. Man, you're right. But you're right. Like, it is like, I'm going to go see Earth and Fire doing 3 dates at the Hollywood Bowl this summer. I'm definitely going to be at one of them, maybe 2.
Right.
You know what I mean? Part of it was just here. Like the bands, like I look at like now, a lot of the older acts, Charlie Wilson's still selling out. You know what I mean?
Charlie Wilson.
And Frankie Beverly sold out to the day he died. He sold out the Superdome the year he died. Last year, damn. Frankie Beverly sold out the Superdome. He can't even sing no more.
Damn.
He was going. He couldn't even sing the last 10 years. I know because I went to all his shows, but we love him. You know what I mean? You put that love out there in his music. And I look at like a lot of I go to like a lot of shows around here in LA when people come to town. And it's a lot of acts like act like there's this band out of Virginia called Butcher Brown. Get into them. They released an album like a month ago. Okay. Number 5, but that is a song they just released a Mia Glass song. It's fucking beautiful. But bands like Butcher Brown, they got cult followings. But they live band. You know what I mean? The lead raps, sings, plays the trumpet and the saxophone. You know?
Yeah.
And so you look at what, you know, Kingfish is doing over in the blues. You know what I mean? He sells out where he goes. My biggest thing is I just want more black people to pay for tickets to go to these shows because, you know what I mean? I don't just go to shows in LA. I go to shows all across the country. When I'm places, I hit up a show. You know what I mean?
Right.
And a lot of our black people who are really Gary Clark Jr., who are pushing the sound forward, oftentimes I see way too many. Now I won't say too many because it's good that I want them to sell, but I'll say not enough of us. You know what I mean? And a lot of them others. We got to make sure that we support these sounds. You know what I mean? But these sounds are selling.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it. You gotta love it, man. The fact that like tradition and classic and good music, no matter how much falsehoods, fake music, wannabe rappers, tethers they throw at it, it can never really stop what's the pure form of art. The pure form is always going to reign supreme above all the extra stuff, no matter how much they try. Man, brother, you know I had to chop it up with you, fam. You already know, brother. I appreciate you for coming on, man, and blessing us with all your knowledge, bro. All the way from anybody listening to this right now, go back, listen to the playback, and then you're going to take all this information about the culture, about music and everything from our good brother. Hey, where can everybody find you, though, fam?
You can find me right here at Dewan B. That's everywhere at DewanB.com, at Dewan B on YouTube, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Patreon, all over. Make sure y'all follow me because it was good talking to you too. Because I was gonna schedule a live for like 7. I was like, nah. Remember I told you I was like, nah, we riding, we riding, we riding. So probably sometime after 5150 go off tonight, I'm gonna do a late night live from my phone and talk a little shit with the family. But come over on the YouTube, man. I do historical perspectives. We also talk politics and current events, talk a little bit of sports, you know, NBA playoffs on, so talk some sports sometimes. And anything I talk about is it really just comes from experience. You know, I talk about my card readings, do my mental health stuff. I worked in mental health for 15 years. You know, I now just recently got a gig, not a gig, in my company. Partnered up with another company. I'll be working with a lot of our FBA children on the way to the NFL. You know what I mean? On high school, college. You know, helping them with this. You know how to approach it with this. Because I have a lot of extensive years, you know, the NBA sports environment. You know what I mean? So drawn up on that. So I'll talk a little bit about that on my channel. The music, funny how the music talk. I never thought I'd be talking about music like this. It was Busta Rhymes saying black people have no culture, and Fat Joe saying 50-50. That's what made me realize I have to talk about music because I was talking about other shit, basketball and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I kind of got pushed into this. And I saw how it was necessary. So that's what we talk about. And on Patreon, we go a little more in depth. I do play live music examples on Patreon. I do music meditations on Patreon. Just 15, 20 minutes in the morning and the evening. I play some culture. I play different black artists, FBA artists, because we have so much healing in our music. And sometimes all we need is 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening, just breathing to our music. Breathe in to Love Supreme by Coltrane, Bitches Brew. So you know some Horace Silver. The solutions are there. Earth and Fire. I break down the music and the science and the spirituality behind the music too on Patreon. I also give lessons on how our music was destroyed. Interviews. Most of my interviews go on Patreon first. Full interview. We interviewed Lord Jamar a couple weeks ago. I got some stuff coming up. Like I said, I did Dr. Westbrook's. I got and I also interview rare artists, people who are background singers, people who are composers and producers that you may not know who they are, but they compose your best music. All that stuff is with the music is on Patreon. The stuff without the music is on YouTube because YouTube don't let you play music. So that's simple. You know what I mean? That's why it's like it's separated like that. So yeah, all that stuff is out there, man. But again, I thank you again, man, for this invite, man. I love this channel. It's my favorite channel. One of my absolute favorite channels for years now.
Man, brother, likewise, fam. You working on a book too, right?
Yeah, I'm working on my book now. This one's 100 years. It's focused on black music from 1920 to 2020 with a backstory on how we got here from the 1700s to 1920. showing you different pop artists that we had, how we got to there. You know, people don't understand that gospel music is a child of the blues, not the other way around. You know what I mean? Breaking that down and debating. But I'm focusing on 1920 to 2020. A lot of your key artists, your key sounds that spurred other things. You know, you can never write one book on Black American music, but it is expanding my tree a lot, and it's going to the root. The drummers, the bass players, the composers, the artists, from Chick Webb to Horace Silver to Earth and Fire to Grandmaster Flash to Furious Five to Jodeci. You know what I mean? We talking about all that in the book, and how Black music inspired Jamaican music, how Black music inspired Latin music. You know what I mean? So we're putting it all down in book format. Like I said, I'm like 400 pages in, and I'm just now halfway through it.
Brother, hey man, soon as it's ready to go, brother, let me know. I want to be the first one with it, brother.
Yes, sir. I'll let you know. Hopefully, my goal is to get it done by June, into June, and then maybe get it edited. I want to have it out by the fall. That's my goal, to have it out. And I'm also working on my second installment of my documentary.
Yeah.
We're showing the gospel roots of all popular music. We're taking it back to the church, because the truth is, when it comes to all these people tethering our music, whether they have our skin tone or not, if you weren't in church with us, you ain't part of this thing. All this stuff is born out of the church. You know what I mean? When I say born out of the church, as far as the best musicians, all the musicians, the producers, the rappers, the singers, they all got their first time on stage in the church. The church is what teaches you how to draw that spiritual feeling out. The church is where we learn how to be great performers. The church is where we learn is the training ground that really produces. It's a better university than any university out there. And this isn't a Christian documentary. You know, Lord knows I don't fuck with church like that, like I used to. I used to play, but something different. It's just, you know, I got my own thing. But at the end of the day, I got to give credit where credit is due. Yep. There's a common bond in all of this shit, and that's the church. And I'm gonna talk about how really all of that stuff, the recorded music. Thomas Dorsey started gospel music in 1923, and even before the churches where kids learn how to play, it's just so deep. So we breaking that whole history down in this next installment of my documentary. Just really cutting out all the naysayers, cutting out anything you say, because like Dr. King said, the most segregated hour is Sunday at 10 a.m. You know what I mean? So if you weren't with us, you ain't part of this. The dancing, all these traditions that we call hip hop, all that stuff coming to church. And so we breaking all that stuff down.
Man, brother, I can't wait, family. Man, I appreciate you for coming on. The one of a kind, Dewan B, everybody. Y'all make sure y'all subscribe and check out the show tonight. I'm going to be there later on tonight anyway, brother. So you already know.
Late night live tonight. Yes, sir.
I appreciate you for coming on, family. Take it easy, brother.
Y'all have a good one.
Shout out to my brother. Shout out to my brother. Shout out to my brother, man. I hope y'all enjoyed Dewan B, fam. As soon as I seen the Puff situation going on, I was like, let me have my brother Dewan B come on here, and then let's touch on that, but let's touch on the backstage, and let's touch on music, because there's so much stuff going on out there right now, fam. I don't want to flood everybody with negativity. I don't want to flood everybody with negativity and these immigrants and these migrants and these tethers and the unaliving of Black people. That's cool for a degree. We're going to give everybody doses of that. We're going to break all those things down as they present themselves. But we also need to sit back, relax, and chop it up. We need to sit back, relax, and chop it up and just celebrate ourselves. And so on the Black Alpha Network, y'all going to always get, and I'm making it a point, fam, amongst all the reporting and everything we do, fam, we're always going to throw a good positive vibe where we can talk about the East Coast, the West Coast, down south, Midwest. We could talk about jazz and gospel and just give everybody some love so y'all can go on with your week with some positive energy, man. You know, I'm always talking about it being a hot summer. It's going to be a crazy summer and all the things going on in the summertime. And I can't flood everybody with that 24/7. All right. We know what's going on. We live it. So there's no reason to keep beating it down. You know, you got the Rodney Hinton Jr. situation. You got the people out there in Memphis with the police officers, with Tyree Nichols. You had the Carmelo Anthony situation. This time, fam, we sit back and we just enjoy a little bit of vibe, and then we break things down and how it's really, really, genuinely going, fam. Absolutely. Got to have balance, fam. I can't be in the position of saying I'm the number one activist and the pillar in the community, and it's just, yeah, these people, negativity, and this, all that's cool. But at the end of the day, fam, we're going to sit back and enjoy ourselves, because it's all about being foundational Black American and keeping that gate up, man, to make sure can't nobody get in, can't nobody come around us and infiltrate us. So we'll never be on that type of time, fam. We're going to continue to be on that real time. However, let me tell everybody this right now, fam. We're going to continue to push. We're going to continue to ride. We're going to break down everything with all these different cases, situations going on. The Diddy case, cool, whatever. We touched on that. We let everybody kind of know the position. You play with them folks, you get caught in these situations. The more those things go on, one man Ricos, all of that stuff. But I also want people to know we got to represent Michael Jackson. We got to represent Prince. We got to represent Angie Stone, because we can't let our foundational Black American icons or people who make great music just disappear and then nobody knows what went on. We can't have none of that. So let's bring in some positive vibes and positive energy, man. You know, don't nobody rock like foundational Black Americans. So we gonna continue to run that game, fam. Y'all catch y'all all back though, fam. I'm gonna wrap this up because we gonna go ahead and shut it down. I got some things I got to do, but I'm gonna tell y'all next week is gonna be a massive. And when I say massive, it's going to be a massive week, y'all. And we're going to come with a lot of stuff. It's about to be an explosion going on over here on the Black Alpha Network, fam. And we're about to take it to a whole nother level. So y'all stay tuned, because we cooking up something with pure fire, y'all. Pure fire. And I can't wait to bring the family back at it, man. So y'all stay tuned. Y'all stay tapped in, and let's continue to ride and stay certified like we do all the time. Shutting down the ops and bringing that real game, man. So appreciate y'all. Good conversation about FBA music, FBA energy. Y'all know we're going to be back again on Friday, and then we're gonna come back, like I said, next week with something even more explosive. So y'all stay good, y'all stay safe, y'all stay vigilant, and you know what it is over here, family. It's always peace and love, peace and love, peace and love. Y'all make sure y'all subscribe to my brother Dewan B. Hope y'all enjoyed the conversation, and we'll be right back again. And always remember that Black is beautiful, and beautiful is always Black. One time.
Everybody knows that all the people don't have liberties, all the people don't have freedom, all the people don't have justice, and all the people don't have power, so that means none of us do.